Hello, everybody! Right, first things first, let's make sure that I'm transmitting. Let's make sure that the music is quiet enough for everyone to hear me. Turn this music down via this means, because it seems like it wants to be a little loud and not follow orders in my setup. Anyway, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today for another wonderful director's commentary. My name is Mr. G, the director and owner of Elements of Justice. Today I'm joined by 5 other wonderful members of the team to discuss episode 4. The first, well, one could say first courtroom of the new case, though I suppose one could make an argument that the other part of case 3, the certain Trixie versus Sonata case, is technically the first. But semantics aside, we're in the courtroom again. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of awesome things that we want to show off, lots of awesome little details we want to get into. But I can't have a director's commentary without other people to commentate with me. So let's get started. Up first is going to be Shannon.
Hello, it is I, Shannon Evans, leader of the Pony Riggers, and yeah, great to be here. Also played a part in putting this courtroom together.
I am sure we never have to do it again.
Well,
until case 4.
Exactly.
Was it case 4? What are you talking about?
Case 4 when? Never. Since you've already spoken, we'll go to you next, Jarvy.
Oh no, he's called me out on my bluff. I can't believe he's done this. Hi everyone, my name is Jarvy Jared. As you know, I hope you do, I'm the team leader for the writers and the musicians. I'm also one there at the Case 3 story development team. And I wrote things in here that were funny, but not like comedic funny. And then I made music here that was funny, but not in the non-comedic funny. Funky dunky, as they say. I'll do anything for money. Gotta get that in. I gotta get that in. Sorry, G.
Boo, 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 boo.
I got a supply.
Yeah, sure you do. Sure you do.
I have promises to keep.
Sure. I
will do anything for money.
Shut up, you. Go back to the basement. Up next, we're gonna go to Goddess.
Hello, everyone. This is Goddess Level 1. I play Luna.
You do indeed. Luna. And what a performance this episode as well, I've got to say. We will want to dive deep into that, I think. There's a lot of awesome stuff to talk about there. But it's great to have you on, Goddess. Great to have you on for your... I don't know if this is your first director's commentary, question mark? I don't know if you've done these...
Actually, it is my first. It is my first director's commentary. It is my first.
Well, they grow up so fast.
You get to experience the joys of creation.
Technical difficulties.
Brilliant. Well, as I say, it's great to have you on, Goddess. And joining us as well is PPW.
Hello, everyone. I'm PrettyPegasusWings, and I am the newly instated head of PR. Woohoo! But you may better know me for my voice roles as Coco Pomel, Sakura, Dime Tiara. I also do little odds and ends, usually animation, sometimes art. And I'm excited to be here for my first Case 3 DC.
Oh, great to have you on as well. We've got so much to talk about in terms of promotional stuff, in essence. Promotional stuff, but also maybe some other bits and bobs, and also to get your outside perspective, because it's always good to have someone who hasn't necessarily put in as much raw assets into an episode. It's always good to get the fresh perspective, because I know for a fact that I've looked at this damn episode way too much, and I know Soundman has, and everybody else has. So we need freshness.
I watched it 4 times over the course of the weekend it came out, because I watched the stream late, and then I watched reaction videos, and then I watched Maria Moonlight react to it, and that was all on Sunday. So I think I watched a little too much already.
He loves.
I don't know anything that happens in this episode. Why am I even here?
Why are you? Who are you? Why? And bringing up the rear, but again, by no means least, our favourite squid, Bruno.
Hey guys, I'm Brunosky, team leader of the Edtiors, and you'll have to excuse me this DC because I got infected. I'm sick, so I won't be speaking as often as I'd like, but I'll try to chime in for every matter I can bring on my pain about.
I will happily bully you with your lack of ability to talk and force you to do most of the director's commentary on my behalf, then, Bruno. Without your voice, without your ability. I care so deeply,
Wow, what else
obviously.
do you? Zing.
A quick sip of water myself, actually, now that you mention it. I haven't actually got water prepared, so this is going to be a fun one.
Oh my
Well, if it
god.
makes you feel better, Bruno, I'm overcoming my COVID infection. That's why I might sound out of breath or a little scratchy. But I'm doing better, and I got medication. I'm fine.
We're all ill. Oh no.
Is now a
It's
good
the
time to
season
mention
to
that I
be
think
ill.
I'm also getting sick?
Well,
At the end of May, and everybody getting sick. Seriously.
Well, you see, I don't have any. I don't know. Hey, it's okay. If I'm sick, that means funny? Question mark? Things
funny
happen,
joke. Well,
right?
we will hopefully not experience any loss of members during this director's commentary, but who knows?
Jesus.
Half the fun.
Okay.
This is half the fun. It's a murder series after all. You never know what's going to happen next.
Oh, that's so true. I forgot.
You could say it's an absolute killer. Okay, right. Puns
I'm
aside.
gonna transpositional your spleen into your liver and see what happens.
Right,
Without
actually, you were good. I was about to jump into the episode, but Transpositional, there is nothing to say about that title for once. It is purely, what's the term? A pragmatic episode title. I guess is the best way to describe it. Yeah, purely pragmatic. Practical.
Yes, there's nothing clever about it this time. We gave up.
We gave up. That was it. It was like, oh, okay, just a word will do. Though, the thumbnail, oh my days, the thumbnail.
Yes.
What a beautiful thumbnail. And again, you should all have seen it because you'll probably click on this video or you'll see it on the channel. But that artwork just, God. And the way in which Luna is just looking down on Sonata and Phoenix makes me always smile. So much power, so much more energy. But
she gives me the look to when I first saw it. The first thing that came to my mind was like, "Sir, this is a Wendy's."
This is a Courtroom Wendy's, and you cannot ask for chicken nuggets in this courtroom. No,
I get that look. Like she's like, "Sir, this is a Courtroom Wendy's. I am the princess of the night, and I ask for a freaking frosty."
Luna is a Karen. I love it. No, I love it.
Terrible. It's the worst thing she could be. Like a nightmare moon Karen. Oh my god.
Well,
I mean, hey, now that you mention it, I guess we'll go with that particular little characterization going forward.
Oh, no.
Maybe.
Everyone
Complete your transformation and demand to see the manager.
The worst.
We are the
The
princess
worst.
of customer service. We shall not be denied our chicken McNuggies.
And
Oh, God.
laughing and crying at the same time.
Well, we have so much to talk about in terms of, as I say, Luna characterization, but also just every other aspect of this episode. And I think to avoid getting too caught up, we should probably get started. So if we're all ready, team, let us begin. Now, I just need double checking that that's coming through to everybody in the audience. It should be, but if it isn't, well, oopsie daisy. And back to my favorite time period drama, XXXXXXX-XX.
Some pony once told me that to secure a guilty verdict, the
What a
prosecution
year
must
that
be
was,
able
that
to prove beyond a
XXX.
reasonable doubt the means,
Man
motive, and causation.
So
of
this
the
little
accused.
monologue, it's funny. Not
The
even funny
defense,
because
conversely,
it actually began as a
needs to
scene
show
0
there is
before we
doubt for
decided
at least
to
one
just
of those
segment it and put it at the top of scene
But
1.
some pony else once said.
So originally it was written in
ponies
isolation, but then we said,
and ideas
it's short enough, we can just
aren't usually that
throw it in,
simple.
put some visual effects.
That what you initially think of them isn't always right.
Yeah, the visual effects were
I
not that part of the original script. That was
defense attorney
something
has
I
to
decided to
prove
add
that
to
both
give it some more
statements are true in
flavor,
some way.
since we already had a lot of
Be able to
assets.
consider
Oh, by the
both
way, this
sides
overview, this
If
time,
you don't,
Celestia's horn isn't cut
As the
short.
correct one, yeah, that's good.
then you
I
may
noticed
end
that. I
up
was
on
like,
the
hey,
wrong
look,
side of the
she's not a
scales.
eunuch horn anymore.
Prosecutor
I'm
There was
so funny.
And I like that transition.
Yes, I was going to say, move from the black screen into the full courtroom.
I wonder
Say
what it
magnifique.
could be.
You see, it's poetic because Celestia is the sun, princess of the sun, so when she bangs her gavel, she brings the light, and that's why we get out of the darkness. This is totally...
That makes perfect sense.
We get
It's
the
so
private eye
symbolic,
as
guys.
well.
So much subtext.
Oh god, who's this guy? What a loser.
He looks like someone who would call Jeff.
I thought Private Eye was in prison. Why is he here?
He looks like a guy who'd forge evidence after a pretty mayor told him to.
Now, let's talk music, because...
Yes, let's talk about music. We gotta pause. Hey guys,
I'm pausing.
Look, it's just like Keys 2, when the first pause of the episode for DC is always me when I talk about music. It's great.
Well,
literally a minute in.
Music. And we might as well actually have the music itself playing in the background whilst we're on this pause. So, dear Jarvy, talk to us. Music. It's a passion, you could say, of yours.
It's a passion. I mean, I have not been working on one theme for 2 years. We don't have to talk about that yet.
Not yet. Let's
talk about Private Eye's new theme, though, because this one's fun. This one's a lot of fun. It's a little subtly because it kind of sounds very much reminiscent of the older, so I would be not surprised if certain people didn't even notice that there was a difference. But this theme, Private Eye, a Promising Prodigy, it's basically a re-orchestrated recreation and / new composition of the original theme, with a lot more emphasis on what a digital audio workstation can do in terms of mastering and mixing and all the effects. And it also hits a different genre, because if you take a listen to it, it's a lot more R&B, which is a bit of a happy accident. It just kind of happened like that, and I kind of ran with it. It's really funny.
Right.
It's the same key of G minor or B flat major if you want to get fancy, and the same BPM of 110 beats per minute. Now, the funny thing about this G, which I don't know if you know this or if anybody knows this is a very old track. I made this actually midway through Case 2, so after Private Eye's initial theme was composed. And I made it way back then because for me, I was like, I want to just make the original theme better. And I think I've talked about the original theme being just kind of like, it's okay to me. I like it still, but I think it's a little awkward. But I wanted to take the experience that I learned throughout making music for Case 2 and then obviously through Case 3 and apply it to recreating this particular theme from the ground up. It began as me just, changing some instruments here and there, and then I realized that, oh, wait, I actually know what I'm doing. Let me apply some actual knowledge of musical composition theory and mixing theory and experience to this particular new theme. Regardless, everything from there was then made and redone from the ground up. I got a new piano VST. I got a new orchestral VST. I think I've mentioned this in previous DCs, but I'm using now the BBC Symphony Orchestra Core VST collection of instruments, which is a really good orchestral just ensemble of instruments that you can use for, I think, any digital audio workstation. But this is the first song where I actually used that particular VST collection for the first time ever. I also used some other things that come with FL Studio, some riser effects and samples to transition between the measures. And I also decided to break out of my orchestral, preference to combine it with a more synthetic, synthy, 1970s synth rock sort of genre of music. As you can hear in the song, there's a synth kick that plays against the general orchestral percussion. Just a quick note I want to make about this particular orchestral VST, though. There's this thing in the BBC Symphony Orchestra Core program called Articulations, which lets you change up the type of notes that play midway through you putting down an instrument itself, by basically having a key bound to a specific note in the piano roll program in FL Studio. This lets you change the pattern midway through, so I could start with a long articulation for like a violin, and then midway in the song's second verse, without changing instruments, I can change it immediately to rapid spiccato, and then switch it back to long or maybe to legato. This lets you vary up and make it sound almost more realistic to a real human player, where they can switch up between long notes and then rapid fire pizzicato or spiccato, and then go back to long, without there being like an awkward pause between notes like that. One other thing that I ended up doing as I was working on the song was I started implementing this thing called instrument buses. I think, G, I sent you that image of
which
a bus.
Very odd in a vertical.
Funny. It does look very odd. It's supposed to look very odd. It looks weird because FL Studio, I think, is trying to recreate how it looks like on a real console. I don't really know. But the way that this bus thing works is you send mixer tracks to one channel, then feed those into the master track afterwards. This actually lets you determine how much of the instrument is sent into the master for a whole group of instruments. Or if you want to apply a certain effect to a whole set of instruments, but you don't want to individually give that effect to each one, so I just want to like give a delay or a reverb, you can do that. You can actually make it so that, let's say, your percussion bus gets one reverb. That one reverb effect then applies to all the percussion that feeds into that bus itself. Now, I've mentioned also this thing called instrument groups. That's another thing that I started doing, which I really should have done because it's just a way of organizing FL Studio a lot better than what I was doing in Case 2. This let me achieve faster and more organized workflow, and I would later carry this into practice by creating templates for FL Studio compositions to make generating actual compositions a lot easier. A whole lot of technical stuff, basically, that I learned and then applied to this particular track, but which, you know, helped me create the rest of the music in Case 3 that you hear so far.
And there you have it. A little bit more into the madness that is music creation. And goes without saying that a lot of the effort and original soundtracking has been trailblazed by yourself, Jarvy. And a lot of it is, for lack of a better term, very good. But as you mentioned, there are some tracks that, well, do kind of eat away at you for many, many years. I dare not think about what will happen when we actually get around to talking about those particular tracks.
We don't have to talk about the track. What are you talking about? I don't make music.
Oh, of course. Sorry, my bad. How could I ever insult you as such? But yes. So, thank you very much for giving us a bit of background into Private Eye's new theme, and if that is everything you have to say about it, I say we can return to our episode, shall we?
Sure, I'll pause in the next 3 seconds. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you better not. You're fired if you do that.
Quite the colorful and talented cast.
I gotta say, it's how would you put this? Thematically relevant. That right after the case where Private is forges evidence that he comes back in this flashback before that point and is revealed that he's this prodigy. In a way, it kind of gives more weight to what happened in Case 2 because he had a whole future ahead of him. In some ways, he threw that away, all to protect Journey.
It is true. No, it's a very good observation.
I must be sure to thank him. And
the thing about presenting characters, especially like Private, any other character, and Jarvy can correct me as the actual writer, it's always to flesh out. It's always to give them a little bit more than just what they were. And I do think we were not unfair to Private in Case 2, but I think we were harsh. I feel sorry for him, especially considering how wonderful of a time Pretzel put into him as a VA for it. So I was very happy that we found a what's the term? Another term? A more friendly use for him, quote unquote.
They were the only ones working that
also, some people have been confused. Please, there is no confusion about which of the twins these are. That is Estella. The one in red is Estella. So if you need to remember the distinction, red is Estella.
But overall continued working until quarter past.
Now,
Estella is real.
The mystery. We can't say too much about this mystery. But the planning around timings and just making this sort of previous incident that occurred. We've taken a whole different approach to mystery writing. We've said it before. We're not too concerned about having a mystery that is just bang, 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 you know, this exact second detail thing. Though, of course, you want to keep consistency. And you can tell from how, at least in this part of the trial, things are a lot more generalized. just to avoid this specificity that we got into in the previous case, which has its perks and drawbacks. Also, when it comes to this particular moment, I think the word that I heard soundbad was moralizing. Which, in retrospect, I do think we gave we did allow private to talk a little bit too long, just a tiny bit. But again, it's nice to show him in a positive light for once.
The idea behind this, if I remember correctly, the conversation with James was we wanted to show who Private Eye, like, before he forged evidence, Private Eye was Private Eye, and we wanted to show that from the beginning he's always been, a goody two shoes. He will moralize, but he did have a virtuous heart at some point. So the idea was to show that, like, no, he didn't forge evidence because he was a evil dude. He did it because he believed that it was a necessary thing he had to do for his friend. But he was still trying to do what he thought was right.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair devotion did kind of emotionally blackmail him. Like, it's a child. You're going to let a child go to prison?
Yes.
Child of your friend. So.
Child of your own friend, yeah. If there's a reason to throw away your entire career, what better way than to protect someone that's precious to you?
Exactly.
Certainly, Miss Trixie. I'll give it my all.
It's always kind of creepy now seeing the courtroom so empty. I've not thought about that.
I see so many ponies in the background.
It kind of looks like a wall as well. Without anybody there to be sitting on it, it just feels like a wall, but it's weird. I keep trying to find the background gag.
Well, think of it like this. At least this way. That's right. Rarity's case is taking place in Manhattan, so
yes.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see this again with new faces.
With happy, smiling ponies. Yay!
Hooray! Rarity's gonna go to jail.
Well done.
I'm not.
She'll be fine.
Attorney.
She's fine.
We'll find a way.
That will be a very well-dressed prison by the time her sentence is done.
Absolutely. I mean,
they'll be putting on like fashion shows. They'll be putting on fashion shows on the catwalk and such. Everybody, and she'll restyle like everybody's prison scrubs.
That would be hilarious. Actually,
she'll turn them into haute couture.
Every cell will be dressed up in the most fashionable colors.
Exactly.
Right. Now, turning back to the testimonies and the current trial at hand before Mr. Concept.
Oh, that's easy. We found
what I've loved about doing this particular section is just the ability to take a little bit more creativity, and there's one good gag coming up in a second which some people clocked, some people didn't see, and those who did clock it, I'm very proud of you. The rest of you.
Would you like Trixie to add this to court record?
Look, man, some aren't as cultured as you.
It was not me who did this, but this forced into the court record is just an excellent gag, and it's one of the reasons I say I love this this flashback trial so much. It's just there's so much more opportunity to get stuff like that in. We are following a traditional formula, but in some ways there's more creativity. Oddly enough, like I know back in episode 1 there was mention of an alternative entrance for Trixie that was not ended up being used. But I have found that this particular trial brings out most of people's internal creative spirit, and I'm very glad for it.
Very much so.
And there's some great performances as well. To not also take away from that fact. Thea smashing it as our Trixie, Shadow as Celestia, and Cadet obviously as Sonata. And I think she's mentioned this a few times, but we really are pretty nasty to Cadet because she has to basically speak 90% of the time in this case. Like, if she's not doing a Sonata section, she'll be doing an Applejack, which is just... I do feel sorry for her.
I mean, hey, we get exposure for, Applejack, so I think that's a plus.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh god, this diagram.
Everything we deem relevant.
It's simple. So
so simple, and yet so many issues with it.
Yeah, I had a lot of variation.
Revision. Sorry, Noel.
Just get on with it.
We got it.
Trixie was being sincere that time.
But yeah, that little diagram of the alleyway was difficult to get right, just because there were so many errors, changes. As things evolved, we were like, we had to change this, we had to change that. Very small things in the long run, but also like, oh god, so many.
Because I believe, though, correct me if I'm wrong, the planning for this particular trial/incident has been kind of not all over the place, but it was a little bit wonky for a while, and I'm not sure if that particular still or graphic was one of those moments where we realized we do need to be a bit more careful and clear up a little bit.
You had to be a little more specific.
Yeah, from what I recall, yeah, that diagram was one of the more concerning aspects, considering details that will be delved into later. But in short, the main issue with this particular case, from what I recall, was that it was just a little too vague.
But to answer your question, no, I never really was.
Also, this little part, I don't know why people took it as shipping fuel between Sonata and Private Eye.
Listening to them anyway.
I don't get it.
It's the bisexual trial. How could you not want the bisexual trial? She's got the choice of Trixie and Private Eye. It's just great. It's just perfect.
I mean,
all that Sonata was saying was, we're going to be working together. That was all that line was meant. Like, I never intended it to be like, oh, they're interested.
Jared, never underestimate the shippers.
Look, if I wanted to ship characters, because I am the kind of guy who'd be like, no, I ship them, and that's why he wrote this one line. I didn't write this one line because I don't ship them. Come on, guys.
They will find a way! Isn't that right, Pretty?
Oh, they will, believe me. They find a way.
It's so mean. Also, this little part is technically a valid point for Sonata to object to, but not quite object to. That was a leading question that Trixie had, so she had to amend it right here. This is us throwing our legalese expertise that rhymed.
Into the trees for these to seize.
Never escapes the Cora.
I can't escape Sora.
He'll never escape.
So
I also love this dynamic as well, showing how even though Sonata is smart, intelligence and wisdom are two separate things. You can be smart enough to recognize that this is something that's leading, but Trixie is wise enough to be able to just counterbalance that or counter-object in essence. It's a very great, and I feel like some people don't comment on it enough, but Trixie is pretty fucking terrifying in the courtroom, people. Like, she's clever. There's a reason that in Turnabout Storm, Phoenix nearly fucking lost. So just take what you will when take that as an indication of both mares' talents, I suppose. There's also a little bit of confusion about that little bandage thing. I found that very confusing myself. But the original artist, when designing the stick, mentioned that it's something you would normally have, like if you were holding, like a little way to keep your hand from getting like hurt when you're like grabbing the stick at the top and moving along with it. It's kind of like a padding in essence. But some people thought it was a bandage of some sorts. No, it's a part of the. You find them on walking sticks, and there was actually an image I remember being shown to give me an indication of that. But I do love how everybody, myself included, was very confused at the initial when that was initially made. So even I don't know what happens sometimes, people.
What nonsense.
Speaking of vagueness in the flashback trial, that stick wasn't originally marked as part of the core record. In the script. So it was added during editing.
You're right. Very good point. There's been something that we're kind of taking forward as a bit of internal review, but we need to be more mindful of like evidence pieces themselves, because there are things that are, for lack of a better term, should be counted as evidence. But because we've been so focused on some other aspects of the story, we did kind of miss out on that. So Bruno was, as Bruno rightly pointed out, editing is one of those moments again where we can just catch ourselves before we ignore or forget something important. Always make sure that you're able to change, have flexibility, be agile. Oh god, I sound like one of those corporate
agile. He loves agile.
Now, when it comes to like making mistakes, I always feel as a creative, boundaries can push you to being a better creator. Because, well, if you're given total freedom, you have the total freedom to make mistakes. But if you, in a way, box yourself, you're forced to really get creative and work a way out that you probably wouldn't have thought before with that same freedom. So a lot of people will say, oh, I'm stuck with this now. I'm stuck with my story because I put it out like this, and I'm stuck with it because I didn't write it all up. Well, you know what? Use that to your advantage. Think about it. Think about how you can take those flaws and make them your greatest strengths.
This is very good.
Oh,
very good. Okay, we will talk about this, do not worry. But I do love how some people were also already saying that Trixie was deliberately hiding evidence or withdrawing evidence from poor old...
Trixie be sus.
Yeah.
Ace Attorney does, though. That's literally what they do.
Autopsy report. It's a discharge report.
I'm getting mad, and it's like, this is what Ace Attorney does. You don't have to like it. That's the whole point. Prosecutors are bad.
It was
Sometimes.
great. I was, well, we'll get to applause in a second. And we can talk a bit more about that as well. But you're right, prosecutors, they nasty.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid that is simply not the case.
Not the basic.
Gosh, I just love the posing on Sonata with that objection. She just looks so confident and just like in control. I love it.
Pause here, G.
You want to pause here? Okay, we will pause
I think
here.
this is the timestamp for it. 16,
Well,
14.
your
we said
time
the timestamp,
frame
yeah.
is not my time frame. We are in different points in time and space and the universe.
The timestamp is right there on the episode.
I don't see any timestamp. All right, hit me, my good friend. What is it you want to
I'm
talk
gonna
about?
hit him up. I want you to throw up that one image of Sonata Prelude to the Truth that I sent you.
This screenshot? Okay.
The screenshot, because this is important to talk about. Because, ta-da! It's Sonata's objection theme. Well, not quite, and I'll talk into about what I mean by that. But yeah, this song that plays is called Sonata Prelude to the Truth. Of course, it is in C minor or C sharp minor, and of course, it shares certain aspects with like Clockwork and also Moonlight Sonata. In fact, the Moonlight Sonata first movement, the entirety of that whole famous progression, appears in the song Electric Piano. If you look at this little screenshot and you look at the electric piano at the top, those 3 notes, that's just the Moonlight Sonata, opening. It's of course in 126 BPM, and it follows a very interesting pattern of structure in that if you listen very closely to it, it resembles Objection 2001, which of course, as we all know, is Phoenix's original objection from the first Ace Attorney game. Now, the majority of the song more or less just remixes like Clockwork and Moonlight Sonata, but if you listen to the second half of it, it starts incorporating what I've been calling over the years, oh god, I've been doing this for so long, Sonata's redemption motif, with the strings, the woodwinds, a couple other instruments here and there. I saw people in the chat calling it Sonata's objection theme. I saw people in the Discord calling it objection theme. I saw a reaction video saying that it was Apollo's objection theme, but remixed. This is all really funny. It's not an objection theme. There's a very specific reason why I call it Prelude to the Truth and not Sonata Objection. Because it's not an objection theme in terms of intent. I take cues from the Great Ace Attorney's use of prelude themes. And if you've never played the Great Ace Attorney, a couple of the defense attorneys have these themes that precede an actual more bombastic objection theme. Brunosky has one, but Ryutaro also has one, and there are a couple others for various parts of the actual game itself that play preceding, these more climactic, emotional, ace attorney formulaic objection moments. It isn't as powerful as an objection, but it's meant to indicate that we are heading in that particular direction, but we just aren't quite there yet. Fun fact, though, this is also an old theme. I don't think anybody here really remembers this, but I made this first back in Case 2. I made it specifically because when Join the Herd made the remix to Wait a Minute, or Wait a Second, whatever, that song that plays when Twilight Objection 2, 3 at the end, in the last scene, I was very much inspired by that, and in a couple of days after he made it, and we were still, in the midst of editing, I went and made the initial version of this particular theme. From there, I used it again in, when we started making Case 3 music. I cleaned it up a little bit, applied some better effects in mixing and mastering, and ended up with this particular theme. A lot of people seem to really like it. A lot of people were saying, like, oh, this goes hard, which is really funny because it's not meant to go hard. It's meant to be a prelude to an objection theme. Hint, hint. But I don't know why I'm saying hint, hint. It's not like I'm ever going to make another objection theme, right, G?
We shall not say any more, though, for now.
We shall not say any more.
It's a very nice theme, again. It's interesting. I did not understand the prelude stuff because I haven't played the Great Ace Attorney or seen any of the Great Ace Attorney stuff myself. So that's a fun fact for me to learn. So thanks for enlightening me on that point.
Yeah.
You can tell that some people actually consume their media correctly, like Jarvy here, and then there's people like me, the fan. No, what is it?
I consume too much media.
He loves.
Please help.
He loves media. Well, good theme. But as you say, there is so much more to come. There's so many more themes to come. There's so many more different themes to come. That if you enjoy the ones you're hearing right now, you'll certainly love ones later, or yet to come, I should say.
Yippee!
Whilst we're at this pause moment, is there anything else anybody wants to quickly bring up before we move along? Because the next time we may pause one more time when we get to a certain moment that gives this episode its name.
Yes. I'll hold off till we get to there.
Okay. Well, we shall continue then with the rest of this trial.
And I'm glue?
Miss Trixie, there's no need for this hostility. Miss Sonata hasn't even explained her reasoning.
This is funny.
Banter,
It's called banter.
It's just
I like how Trixie.
That's so
I like
funny.
how Trixie is so aggressive about Private Eye being such a goody two shoes.
He's such a stick in the mud.
Oh,
I
again.
love the hat animation
Little
with it
hat.
just jumping off her head. It's so
That's
good.
called a hat trick.
Good one.
I'm in so much pain.
But I admire them for a different reason.
But it's just so expressive and perfect for Trixie.
Their punctuality. Do you
Damn
remember
puns.
what time overall was reported to have gone on break?
Yeah, 10:15. What's your...
And that is the moment that Trixie knew she fucked up. But not in a way that everybody expected it.
Silly blue horse. Tricks are for kids. Shouldn't have said that out loud.
You just did, and that will be clipped forever, and you will never escape it.
That's
Also,
so funny.
bloody fancy terms again. These terms, these fancy terms.
We love Jarvy pulling out his vocabulary and saying,
and causing us all a headache, which we will get into later on in this episode. Again.
Your Honor?
Oh, also, that little line, unless the laws of physics used to exist in that alleyway, that's a reference to My Cousin Vinny, which is a movie about courtroom drama. It's making fun of a line that the defense attorney Vinny actually says to one of the witnesses. It's really cool. Check out the movie. It's actually really well done.
Yeah.
My Cousin Vinny.
Dear. Here we
The
go.
wrong disturbance report.
It's so funny.
Don't you start biting at me.
And then choosing Cammy Meal's theme here, it's so good.
I'm telling you it's the truth.
Then what am I even holding here?
That's an
Earlier draft with a transpositional error.
Get it? Title drop. End credits.
I'm going to pause here, even though I didn't put a pause in the thing. I'm breaking my own rules. Wow, I'm so bad at this. Ban me, please. Ban me. I swear, we need to ban me right now. because we got a lot to talk about in regards to this transpositional error, because in itself was an error. Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
And oh gosh, Salman was so upset when this was found. So, for those unfamiliar what a transpositional error is, basically it's an error that's caused when you flip two numbers around in like a number. Like, say for instance, you're supposed to put down 28, but instead it's 82. That's what a transpositional error is. Well, for whatever reason, somehow, someway, it got past all the polishing, but instead of 1021, in the script, it was 1022. In that instance, that's not a transpositional error. That's just straight up error.
That's straight up stupidity in the highest degree. So, yes, almost the whole episode's name, premise, joke, whatever you want to call it, was almost completely and utterly wrong from the outset. And again, a wonderful moment to remind everyone that never ever assume you are clean or finished when something has left the writer's room, because stuff like that can happen.
Yeah, and in case you're wondering how far along we were when we finally caught this error, we had already recorded the lines. And we're in video editing.
Yes.
That's how bad it was.
And it would have probably, had it not been for the fact that Salman was reviewing it, because in my instance, I was, truthfully, I'm happy to admit, I didn't even know what transpositional was, in all fairness. So had it come to me, had I been the one reviewing this, probably would have actually gone through all the way. So it is thanks to Salman that got caught. But yes, we had to redo the lines, we had to fix up everything. It was very much a sort of panic turnaround, just to make sure that we got it right eventually, which we did, and that's where we are in this part of the episode, with the correct transpositional non-error document, non-transpositional error, whatever you want to call it, You also had something else you wanted to say, Shannon, in regards to something else?
No, I just wanted to relay that for Salman since he's not here.
No, good. I was going to do so as well once I was reminded of it. Oh dear.
But yeah, always review your work, folks!
Well, in that case, what should have happened, what the issue was, someone didn't do the review until we were in the view editing phase. That was part of the problem too. We hadn't set up a clean timeline for QA post-writing. So it was assumed, because I had director's approval, that yes, this was caught and fixed, or that yes, this was not an error. So this actually taught us also that, we need to, clean up when we're doing that particular review before we sign off in that particular instance.
Yes, because I actually do think, now my memory's getting jogged, I think it was raised in the original draft process, and I think just somehow, as you say, got lost in the hecticness of trying to get everything else out the door. Because this is probably not a surprise to anyone, but we're not working on a single episode every month. Like, I can say right now that there are 3 different projects, so basically, episodes, ongoing at this very minute. Some are recording, some are editing, some are being mastered, some of them are being, spliced. We are just multiple episodes all the time, which is a huge, and I'm going to toot the horn here, it's a huge indication of just how much better we are at this compared to Case 2, because we would never be in a position where we'd be working on 2 episodes at once. It was infeasible to consider that prospect. It would always just be a very linear, waterfall-esque type of production pipeline, and most of the time we got stuck at the writer phase, and then that got fixed, and then we'd get stuck at the splicing phase, and then the video editing phase, and the mastering phase, and it's just so many problems. Now, as I say, that we can do 4. It's intense, don't get me wrong, and we are looking to try and minimize that intensity a little bit more now. But yeah, the team is really bloody good at this now. But it does lead to these issues where, whilst we're doing really well productivity-wise, we can sometimes forget to cross our T's and dot our I's, or transpositional, I want to say transpositional my errors, but that doesn't make any sense. Point is, everyone makes mistakes, even us. Anyone else want to add in on the transpositional fun, or shall we continue onwards?
I mean, I like the joke that came with Trixie's panic. Like, oh no, I'm sorry. It feels just so out of character in such a fun and silly way, and I just love it.
Oh,
but it's also very much like Trixie when she like loses control of the narrative for her to kind of break down.
It's interesting you mention that because again, it's not really. I guess it's not really revealed in hand or anything, but it's another moment where we are showing everyone else. It's like this isn't the same Trixie from like Turnabout Storm or before. This is a professional. She is a professional, even though she's performative. She still has standards.
She's a professional performer.
I wouldn't necessarily call her a professional performer. She is certainly a performer.
She is. She gets paid to be a magician. She's
That's not professional. That's just somebody likes her too much.
Wow, Mr. G just shitballing on top of everyone who doesn't work in an office occupation. I see how it is.
Basically so. No.
He's a real villain.
I live in the office. As I say, I'm glad that we've been able to kind of highlight a bit more to everyone. Just, this Trixie isn't who you may expect her to be, and people should keep that in mind. They should take moments like these to see how deep of a character she is going to be, or has become. And you can potentially use that to maybe start thinking about other prospectus things as well.
That's really good prompting. I don't know what you're talking about.
Nobody knows what I'm talking about, but I know what I'm talking about.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to know that I'm talking so much good sense. I'm going to pause the music here. We're going to continue on with the episode. See? I can transition. Not like a transitional.
You can transposition, no.
See? Same brain cell. Same brain cell.
Prosecution, if that's the case.
Also the music again. Whoever said that before, I absolutely agree.
It's so funny.
Right here, Your Honor.
It's also so catchy.
It says that the real time of the report is 10:21.
Again, as we mentioned, this would have been 10:22 in the original recording.
Exactly,
For
Your Honor.
Shadow, and
we also know that the defense
they had to do their re-records last minute.
This report now tells us
Well, they came through, so I really appreciate them on being easily able to turn around on that.
Yes.
Yeah, not to mention it's just the one line, but still, the fact that it was brought up and it stayed there until it was even in the disturbance report, I think.
That's awfully convenient.
Everything. Yeah, evidence had to be updated as well. It's big errors. Small errors, big consequences.
Yeah.
I really liked animating these two bickering. It was fun.
Couldn't you tell that they were
They're flirting.
completely different?
Again, the bisexual trial.
Look, they're the same kind of manila
Also, this joke.
Really, I should
We're not lazy. We don't reuse assets. No, it's all unique.
And they should just use a rainbow of manila envelopes to help signify the differences.
That would be smart, actually.
The prosecution should behave. Look, Missy, you just got out of jail not even a year ago. There are legal techniques you haven't even dreamed of that I could teach you.
All you've taught me so far is that the prosecution may have been having too much fireworks smoke today.
She's going hard.
Over here, I did a small editing trick where Sonata's line continued while Celestia's on screen until she hit her gavel.
Well, defense. Giving into the prosecution's inciting comments is one thing, but supplying your own.
God, at this point, there was a part where in the initial drafting, I wanted to throw in a reference to Anatomy of Murder, a landmark crime legal drama film, but I couldn't find a way to even put in a line like that, so I just went with this particular kind of moralizing. A little bit funny, but I was like, well, we don't need a reference right now.
Goes to show that Celestia is a different kind of judge compared to the good old human judge.
Both sides.
I will be speaking to you about this slip-up after court is adjourned.
Yes, Your Honor. Trixie understands.
Detective, I believe your cross-examination has come to a close. You may leave the witness stand. Thank you for your time.
The pleasure has been all
I know that
my lady.
there was
Good day
yes,
to you all.
my lady. I think someone in the writers' room made a comment about it.
I think it was James.
Well, no, I said it should be my lady, I think.
Can't win them all.
But I know that there was
James went on that, yeah.
Someone was like, is this consistent with what we were doing because of Milord and stuff?
I also need to learn to keep a cooler head.
Titles in the courtroom. Titles in the courtroom are bloody confusing. I didn't even realise that my lady was an actual legitimate title to use.
If it means finding a new way to clear my client's name.
Apparently it is.
I just have to find
British moment. And that is scene 1 completed.
Well, there's one last thing I want to talk about.
No, you wish to talk? By all means.
Yeah. Well, this last director's commentary, Connor was there, and he talked about this new process that was created for auto-generating scenes for Edtiors. Well, for this first go at that new process, there was a little error that caused kind of a big headache. So, for some reason, the file names in the library had names had names that caused the FLAs, that's the file type for Adobe Animate, to basically start growing tumors. Mr. G, could you show the image?
It's up on the screen right now for everybody.
Perfect. So the file name basically had a name for the folder and the file name itself. So whenever you save the FLA, a new folder was created, and this happened in an increasing rate. So we had background slash file name, and after sufficient saves, basically the whole FLA exploded. At some point, I panicked because I almost lost my entire scene. Fortunately, I had a backup in on an external hard drive, because I don't know why I did it, but I had a feeling I needed to back it up when I saw that error happening, and of course it eventually broke everything. And once I realized that the error was bad enough that it started breaking things, I reached out to Connor and Sonman, and Connor created a hotfix to remove those issues. Still, it was kind of a headache, because while that script removed the issue, we still had to fix certain symbols in the library, and it was chaotic, to say the least. Fortunately, this next round of editing, this issue is fixed. So it was just this one-time thing.
And it's it was described as a ticking time bomb to me as well. And I'm glad that there wasn't too many casualties of the war of the backgrounds. But as you can all see, the propensity for this thing to consistently duplicate itself over and over and over and over and over and over and over again would not be great. So even though we have it fixed, even though we do have, again, a very solid coding team, errors can still, again, exist in this regard. We can never escape errors. There's always 1 or 2 or 200 or 21. Anything else? Anything else related to it? Oh, we may have just lost one of our people.
Goddard's got put in AFK. No.
No. There, she's back.
He's back. He got sent to the.
Oh my god, I'm back.
Anymore.
Here you no longer on the moon. Let this.
Discord tried to send me to the moon.
And this is the.
I can't believe this.
I mean, you do play Luna, so unfortunately it was to be expected at some point.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But now that you mentioned 21 Angry Mares, I feel like this is my greatest contribution to this episode, and nothing else will ever peak it. But yes, the name of this scene is 21 Angry Mares. I completely forgot to give scene names. I usually try to get scene names done like about 2 or 3 days before an episode releases. But for that weekend, I was flattened on the Friday, so I was just so out of it. I was horrendously ill. and I had to rush these names, and I was thinking to myself something, and the whole spiel about having to prove a client's innocence, reasonable doubt. I'd recently just watched the movie 12 Angry Men, so I really wanted to just be like 2 angry mayors, and then in a moment of inspiration, I was like, oh my god, I can make a transpositional in my scene names, and booyah! The greatest scene name in all of EOJ history was born from one British man's absolute insanity. So if you're wondering what the hell 21 Angry Mayors is referencing, it's a transpositional error of 12 Angry Mayors, which is a reference to 12 Angry Men. Thank you.
Which you should all watch, because it's also a really good movie. There's a lot of movies that you should all watch.
Now, to the questions, if there are any. People who are watching, please fire in your questions. I can't look at the chat, because if I do, it breaks everything. So, yeah. Tell me if there are questions. There aren't. Although I did see there was one question before.
The 6 Angry Mirrors was a reference to 12 Angry Men. Someone just asked about the reference. Yeah, it's the reference.
It's just
the reference is the reference.
The reference is the reference. A reference of a reference in a reference.
Reference.
I don't see any questions yet.
Okay.
Who hasn't actually seen 12 Angry Men?
Who hasn't?
People who haven't seen it. Do you know how many episodes you'll make for Case 3? We'll make episodes.
Yes, we do know how many episodes. Are we going to tell you? No. Not because we don't want. We'd love to tell you, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
But yes, we do know how many we're going to be doing. Though it could change as well. There may be something we
Guys, send me please. I'm working on episode 50.
Only 50? You've got another 200 after that. Get on with it. This is turning into One Piece, my guy. Naruto and One Piece combined together.
Oh my god. This is exactly like 2-3.
Exactly like 2-3.
We don't talk about 2-3. It never happened.
2-3 can't hurt you. There was a question someone fired earlier regarding the ongoing, or the now finished, naming that Alicorn event. I'll quickly just get that out of the way so that there's a bit of an answer. But yes, for those who haven't been in the Discord, we had a fun little event to try and name an Alicorn that appeared in the background of the previous episode 3-3. And we eventually got to a final name. And that final name was Meadowstep, which was adorable. There were some really awesome entries as well. And a big shout out goes to one of the Discord members, Equestrian Exploration, who has been making some absolutely gorgeous fan creations. And I've got one of them on the screen now, just as a nice little sort of promotion, little bit of selfless shout out, promotion worthy things. But yeah, now we have a name for this random ass Alicorn that has caused me to lose my mind and lose sleep over, because somehow this still made it into the background of the episode. But I love everything about the I love it all. I love all the awesome stuff that people are coming out with. And by all means, people, keep an eye out. Be grabbing background characters, give some love, some attention. If you want to be grabbing random characters and give them a nickname or some form of backstory, I'd always love to see that. This to me has been one of the most awesome parts of the sort of wait time between 3-3 and 3-4. So yeah, thank you to everyone who participated. Now,
I'd like to give a quick plug for the fan server. If you're interested in participating in these events and getting involved, well, there's one going on right now for EOJ Fest, a battle between Princess Luna and Sonata, which is thematic considering what's coming up next. So if you'd like to participate, do take the time to come into the fan server. We'd love to have you.
Yes, that event's running this weekend. So if you're watching this director's commentary X amount of years into the future, more than likely it is not happening right now. But if you're here live now, come join us for some Snake.
Oh, yeah. And even in the future, there may be more events if the fan server is still live and kicking by the time you're watching this. So absolutely just come around. It's fun. It's a nice place with a lot of nice people.
Yes. Okay. If there's no questions, we will get into the next part of the episode, because we still have many a scene to go. And I'm sure most of us want to get to some of the more juicy segments.
There's juice. The juice box in there.
Save
No.
it.
Bad. Down. Sit down. Over there in the corner. Never again.
Oh god.
Now.
Oh gosh.
Dying.
Transition.
We go from one pause moment to another pause moment!
Oh no, you want to pause now? No, I can't pause. Okay,
You've
pause.
activated my pause card.
It's too much pause.
Zawardo!
Zawardo. Okay, right. Let's go to Court Begins actually as a track.
At long last, the time has come to discuss the Cloudsdale Courtroom!
Ooh.
So, those who are more familiar with the Ace Attorney series may notice that this one is pretty unique compared to other courtrooms in the past. This one is more styled after a Roman auditorium, or an amphitheater, more specifically, in which they have these rounded seats. And when it came to the Cloudsdale Courtroom, we wanted to do something different. Just something visually striking so that way not all the courtrooms within Equestria were looking the same. And feel free to show the concept art.
Blur as well, just make it that one. Oh,
You can.
my effects are not working today. Why are they not working? Oh well, guess you'll just have to deal with the background. But yes, one concept.
But yeah, so we decided, well, why not since Cloudsdale is more inspired by Roman architecture, why not go for a more Roman aesthetic for the courtroom as well? And Corey did a lot of these really cool artwork concepts, and I was responsible for doing the panorama again.
Thank you.
So I just took these concepts and spruced them up a little bit to make them kind of a fusion between a regular courtroom and an amphitheater courtroom. And I actually did look up Roman courtrooms, and apparently they're a lot less extravagant than what you might think. They're just simple rooms and everyone just sat in chairs.
Huh.
This is the tale behind the Cloudsdale Courtroom, and Noel did a fantastic job with the gallery view. And even the gallery view had its own hurdles and shortcomings because we were dealing with curved seats. How exactly do we show off the gallery folk on curved seats? And that also applied to when we were populating the panorama. So yeah, woo!
Nothing but challenges, and challenges that were overcome tremendously. I say so myself because wow, the seeing this come to life, it is beautiful. Very, very pretty.
Thank you.
Oh, you guys did awesome work. One of the hardest things, like, for at least basic perspective, curves are, like, when you're learning it, one of the hardest things, because curves aren't exactly like a straight line. You can't do like you do a square and draw lines to it. They have a roundness to it that doesn't really obey the same laws that you initially learn when you're first learning perspective. So, yeah, that's a really cool challenge you really put out to yourselves. But also, I love the fact that it does make sense because they do take a lot from, as you said, Roman architecture, as we've seen in the show, a lot of influence from that architecture. But if you think about it, you got kind of this Colosseum appearance in a courtroom where a battle is about to take place. And you got this whole spectacle made out of it using your little audience to sit in the circle. It's really fun. In a way, it's a fitting thematic representation of what's about to go down.
There you are. Again, it's interesting we also mentioned perspective, because I know for this, and I'll get the concept off the face, but I believe there was some trickiness trying to get the perspective correct for this particular shot.
The perspective for the gallery view was just weird, and part of it is due to the concept art, because there's a lot of different perspectives going on here. We've got a unique perspective when it comes to the dome of the ceiling. There's there's unique perspective with the Roman pillars and the columns, and then there's the perspective with the desks. So Noel definitely had a lot of work cut out for her, but she did a really good job with what she was given. And I believe it was Noel who worked on this. I think.
My memories think so too. But it's been so while, to be fair. But we got there. We got there at the end. Figured it out. And, well, I say we worry less about the technicality and just enjoy this wonderful courtroom for what it is
Enjoy
right
the
now.
spectacle.
Exactly. Because, boy howdy, was this a spectacle for the whole.
Court is now in session for
God, I love the chair too. I love the imposing figure of the alicorn, like on either side of the throne. It's just
Corey was also responsible for that, and that was really cool.
It's so imposing, but it's perfect because usually the princesses are the judges. So you have the representation of the figure of judge and baked into the chair itself.
Yeah. And also the judge was quite interesting to put together in terms of a rig because of his beard.
Oh yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, so for the beard, we actually had to use Adobe Animate's mesh feature, in which you turn a symbol into or a shape into kind of like a mesh puppet.
Now that makes sense, considering as the mouth moves, so with the hair and the beard.
Yeah.
That definitely made it easier to animate, I imagine, instead of
so much easier.
Animation's all about cheating. If you can find new ways to cheat and use the tools given to you, the better.
He does look beautiful, though. One gorgeous looking man.
I'm happy to see you.
Also the fun game that people were trying to play or figure out who is going to be the prosecutor for this. I did quite enjoy a lot of people's games. I mean, obviously it was in the thumbnail in the silhouette, pretty much. But there was a lot of debate before the thumbnail dropped of it being potential Trixie being here, which I get. But I think the dynamics you get in the end with Sonata and Luna much more entertaining.
Yeah, I think I also saw someone mention the possibility of Fated Pursuit being a prosecutor. I really loved all the theories that people had for who could be the prosecutor with two cases. You have to imagine that someone has to take the other one. It can't both be Luna.
Remind me.
That's a lot of work.
I mean, could you imagine teleporting between the places with all your files? You'd get something mixed up, no matter how talented you may be. It'd be a lot to ask of anyone.
Right. Okay. We're going to have another pause moment in a moment, because I'm sure we can talk a lot about Luna in specifics.
Apologies. We did not mean to.
And Goddess, is your performance as well.
Indeed it is. But first of all, I have to say this: Juice Box Hero with stars in their eyes.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my! This is all your fault, Jarvy. Ever since you said Juice Box Pony, I was like,
You see, I am an agent of chaos. So Discord. You don't need Discord in this series when I'm around.
Oh. No Discord.
Since you said that in the chat, I was like, oh my gosh, it just came into my head, and I'm like, man, I don't wanna, but at the same time, I must.
No, you gotta give in.
Right.
And now that I've gotten it out of my system.
Oh no, it's good to get it out there. Always good to get it out. But there
Not
was
that word. Oh my god.
So many problems with this particular line.
Why?
I'll tell you
why?
I'll tell you why. I've got a whole story, and I love that Goddess is here because now she can yell at me, and I can be like, I had coming because of pantomimia. Did I even say that? I don't know if I said that right. Anyway, I have a history of choosing funny words our voice actresses and actors have to say, and this one, calumnies, has its own kind of history. So, there's a big reason why I went with this particular line when we were writing it. This is me being me and pulling a literary reference in an otherwise very dramatic line. But this is interesting because there are actually two allusions hidden within it. the actual line of how they count these and deceits, blah blah blah. I make a reference to Aaron Sorkin's Newsroom, which, if anybody knows, Aaron Sorkin is also the guy who wrote primarily for The West Wing, because one of the characters in the show actually says that particular line. Recent events of how to count these indignities and deceits. However, that line is also a reference to something that happened in real life. There's a Representative Thaddeus McCotter, who was running a presidential bid back in 2012, who then resigned from the House of Representatives. The line that the Newsroom references, and thus that we are referencing here, comes from his speech he made explaining why he resigned from his position. The recent events, totality of calumnies, indignities, and deceits have weighed most heavily upon my family. Thus, acutely aware one cannot rebuild their hearth of home amongst the ruins of their U.S. House office. For the sake of my loved ones, I must strike another match, go start anew by embracing the promotion back from public servant to sovereign citizen. Now, it's a really good speech, rhetorically speaking. It also fits with Luna's transformation to an embittered mayor. Cotter is resigning from his post because he feels that he has to change his tune. Luna is resigning herself to this behavior because she feels she has to change her tune. So there's, some intelligent design behind it. Unfortunately, this line was fucking awful. Oops, sorry, slipped that F word in there. It was bad. I take full responsibility for it. Goddess, I love you. I'm so sorry.
That line was a nightmare. That line was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, calumnies is not a word you hear ever. Literally, it's not a word that... It is so archaic. To say it in any modern setting just makes it sound like it's a fake word that you're supposed to replace with calamity. The problem is calamity and calumnies are not the same thing.
No.
So yeah, I had to work with Goddess because, man, I screwed you over bad. I'm so sorry with this one, but I really am glad that with, our conversation, we were able to get this out there in just the way that we needed it. Like, this came out so nice.
The way you did it was like, it was so... the way you did it was like, it wasn't just the way... I think I went through about, oh my god, how many 20-something takes or whatever before I finally got it right.
Yeah.
I think I drove G pretty much mad with this. I drove myself mad about that, but also, but when you told me it was the inflection of how I was saying it, then all of a sudden the you can see by my icon, the light bulb came on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that word. I mean, every time I hear it, it'll be an internal.
I've given her anxiety with this word. I'm so sorry. On the bright side, if this ever comes up in conversation or you ever take the SATs, you now know what calumnies is. You'll never see this word ever. I don't even know if you'll see it in legal courtrooms ever. I think this is just one of those funny, dramatic words that will die out in the next 6 months.
I kind of hope I'll never see that word again. I kind of hope I'll never see that word again, Or maybe I'm so old or whatever that I'll forget what it was.
This is your own kind of calumny. I'm so funny. This is what happens when I'm allowed to bring in my $2 words for dramatic effect, and then I realize, oh god, I'm the only one who actually knows what this word is. I have to learn how to be normal speaking rhetoric. That was a really good sentence, Jared. Self 5.
And maybe I'll be so old or whatever, be like, calumnies?
Calumnies.
Where have I heard that? Where have I heard that?
Where have I heard that word before? Jarvy!
Then swoop down and be like, why is she wringing my neck? Like she remembers. The moon remembers.
The moon remembers.
Goddess will remember that.
Goddess will remember that.
She will. Considering how many times we went over that line, I think she's going to know this line by heart.
Yes. Yes. There was... This is one of those moments where, as well, as Jarvy rightly pointed out and admitted, sometimes an idea is great on paper, and then trying to put that idea into practice, it can sometimes not go the way you expect it. And now, for future scripts, I am making it clear when I think there is a line that I do not think is going to end up being read well, or is likely to have an issue with reading because of this particular event. Because now I'm responsible for all the splicing. So, and I have more to say about that in the next episode when that releases, and the next DC. But, boy, I do not need the joy of having to go for another 20 takes to try and get this one right. So I am smacking Jarvy on the head whenever I see fancy words going forward. We've come to a minor gentleman's agreement to try and make it a little bit less prevalent going forward.
It'll work actually really nicely with just the narrative we set up because, in the initial design, we were making it difficult for Luna to be heard, to be understood. And now it's kind of like, well, it makes sense that now we're changing gears because get all of the blah out of the way, and then we have, the rest of the case. Is that a spoiler? Oh no, I think I've just blacklisted myself on live.
I will send you to the moon for that. No.
I'm going to the basement.
But it's definitely one of those things again, that funny errors, funniness. We do have another pause moment coming up, but do you want to take the opportunity to hit it now, since it's only like 30 seconds?
Yeah, sure, right? Why not? We'll just have an extended pause, because I'm just going to talk about music. Hey guys, this is my contribution to the episode. I talk about music. I thankfully don't have too much to say, because I don't have a screenshot, so I don't have to do any image analysis. That's great. The pause moment that was going to happen in 30 seconds, was talking about Luna's new Courtroom theme, Nightmare of the Courtroom. It's so punny. I don't have the FLP, which is the FL Studio program itself, project, which means I don't have access to this song, so I'm just going off of memory. But it's really funny that we're talking about it today. This is an old theme. There's a pattern here. You're gonna in this fucking episode. In this episode, there's just a pattern of, me just recycling old songs and then remaking them into these new songs. This is an old one. I made it back in Case 2 after Luna's first appearance. I took the initial song of, Dark Matter of the Courtroom, and I just transposed it, there's your transposition pun, down to a minor key. I think the original was in a major key too, so that fits. I obviously added a new chorus that focused a lot on brass, and then I moved the Van Zieks motif from the end of the song to the song's beginning to just change up the structure a little bit more. Then, which you'll actually hear in this episode, I brought the original song, that is the entire original, main verse and chorus, up from the, Dark Matter of the Courtroom. I transposed the key back to major key, and then I added that to Nightmare of the Courtroom second verse. Coincidentally, when that part plays, and you'll hear it as we go along, it plays right as Luna talks about the events of Case 2. I didn't plan that. The audio engineer who was doing this particular scene must have had either a stroke of genius or just pure luck. Either way, that's pretty good skill. It's really interesting how when that plays is right when she gets into this deeply vulnerable state, and it just made that song and that moment in the song hit so much harder. When I watched this for the first time, I was like, "Oh my god, why didn't I think of asking for that?" I didn't think of asking it to line up that way, but it worked out so nicely. We love music.
I think I would imagine for this scene, I think it was. I want to say it was Soundman, but uncertain. There was some moments, I think, in this episode where music was added because there was no music playing for a while. So there's always a bit of creativity. There's always still a bit of flexibility, even after the OST track has been selected. Mastering, as you say, is a skill. When it's done right, it really emphasizes the key points that you want to get to home. Oh wow, I'm stuttering so badly. This is my calumny. Holy crap!
See, I taught him a new word.
Well,
the chat should erupt in every single time someone says calumnies, just like in Pee-wee's Playhouse. Is this the secret word of the day?
I can never escape the $2 word accusations.
The word of the day is calumnies. I am the
word of the day is calumnies.
Right. Let's continue on with the episode, since we've been going for a good hour now and we still haven't got through 2 scenes yet.
Oh.
I feel like that is a perfect indication, though, of just how much more time we put into these things.
Compounding this is the knowledge of my own involvement in.
To be fair, it is a trial episode. Trial episodes have all the goodies.
literally just getting off of this. Yeah.
The best part is I wrote that line in. I didn't think there was going to be so many issues. I wrote it. I was like, this is totally.
Well, calumnies I get, but
indignities. It can be made. And there you go. Here's the.
There's her song. There's Van Zeke's theme.
I mean, just it's dignity with just an IN in the front.
Hey,
yeah, but it's
that
IN.
It can do a lot.
It can.
I will say, Jarvy, like kudos. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's rhyming. When I say calumnies and then indignities, it's like, is she rhyming here? What the heck is going on?
All of English is basically predisposed to rhyme.
She's rhyming. I was like, oh no. Is there another part where Luna's gonna rap or something? It's like she's rhyming.
If you want me to, I'll do it, but for like $200, because no.
Oh come on! I already did an outtake. I already did an outtake of Luna rhyming with that. I did an outtake of that.
That's for sure.
Well,
of her rhyming, and I mashed it up with that commercial of like with Snoop Dogg and Andy Samberg and like a Corona and you know that, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta make this.
What happened before?
Oh, may I answer a question from the chat?
We'll get to it at the end of the scene.
Never mind. Okay, I'll wait.
I really do love Phoenix's wisdom coming through here, especially to someone as old and weary as Luna is as a character, who's no doubt seen a lot more hardship than Phoenix will ever understand in all his life. Yeah, here in the courtroom, it is he who has the most knowledge. It is he who has the authority and the experience. And I feel like it's kind of fun to see the table flip on a character who is supposed to be as wise and knowing as Luna to kind of be mentored and comforted by someone like Phoenix, who's just a regular human.
Yeah, but alas, she's not in the right headspace to receive healing at the moment.
Luna is also kind of one thing I noticed about Luna. She's offering coming from a place of some trauma too, not just relying on as old and archaic as she seems. There's also a coming from a place of trauma.
Princess would feel their barbs.
There's a really good piece of advice that I was taught by my stepdad, is never confuse the quality of advice with the number of chevrons on the rank slide. They're the military thing, but you should never ever, and Luna fails in this regard here, but just because of how experienced you are in something doesn't mean that someone can't bring something equally important to you. And it's a nice comparative point as well. Also, something about Phoenix trying to still be the big dog in this situation, and trying to still, for lack of a better term, feel like the boss, like he has been for other attorneys.
Already, huh?
But
your vocabulary.
Sonata
is that asked for? Is that?
Yeah, I really love that Sonata's put in a position where it's like she has something to prove. She has to prove herself to Rainbow Dash, and consequently, in some ways, herself that she is not the same Mare she was when they first met each other. Kind of, in a way, giving penance to the person that she was and the things that she did. You know, it's like the ultimate ending to that arc, you could say, that she's probably been building up ever since she left prison. And now she has to prove herself to Luna, who looks to Phoenix being the one who has, proven himself already in the equestrian court. He is a lot more wise than Sonata. So in a way, to see her kind of being brushed aside for Phoenix, now she has the muster that she must bring to prove herself to everyone.
Right.
It seems like Sonata. It seems like Sonata, like it almost like Sonata being thrown in the deep end if she's going up against Luna. But I figured not now and when.
Streamline. I will be upfront and say that I actually had a hand in developing Streamline's design. She actually went through quite a few iterations, but I won't get into that here. I'll save that for a later episode when we have an opportunity to see her full character.
Equally, speaking of character, the court gallery is full of it by the looks of it, and
I didn't anticipate
oh
the
boy,
reaction to be so fierce.
the adage of the gallery as a participant in the trial is something that was never really supposed to stick around after case 2, but I want it to. for a very particular reason that I'm not going to go into yet. But I do love the opportunity as well, just to get people saying random shit. If anything, just for the memes.
It's only a booing gives me life. It's just so funny.
It's great. I also just love that it establishes, you know, this is Rainbow Dash going through it the second time, and now she's a celebrity. Now there's a reason for people to believe in her innocence, so it's definitely not like it was before. And I really like that that was established from the get-go.
I love that. I love that post that streamlined it.
The Ghost Trick one, yes. Yes.
I like that it also sets up Luna as some kind of villain in this situation.
Yeah. You're right, Jared. It's meant to be a reference to.
It is. Right. I think James requested that specifically.
Yes.
Shout out to James for again borrowing Ghost Trick, a game that I know nothing about.
He absolutely loves Ghost Trick. But you're right as well. PPW to be highlighting this dichotomy of hello Goddess, I think your headset has disconnected for a second.
Oh no. Oopsie, hold on.
Sorry. But as you're saying, Mr. G.
As I was saying, yes. I do like that identification again. We are adding antagonism. I mean, being a prosecutor is always the antagonist in a lot of Ace Attorney cases. But in this instance, you've got what is arguably a fan favorite, and if we go by what's going on in the Discord server right now, an absolute fan favorite in terms of character having to be the bad guy. And it's not even in a sense of like Edgeworth, where it feels part of his general character.
That's no ordinary.
E.P. Philo.
E.P. Philo.
That was the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon sound effect there. It's so adorable.
And another member of the High Council.
There's so much Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
It's so fun.
Now, we also got a sneaky peek at the gallery as well, or most of the gallery that exist here. We will try and batter through every single reference because there's 100 million bazillion references.
I don't like that Flitter's looking at me like that behind Phoenix. Kind of unnerving.
Yeah, she's supposed to be frowning along with everybody else, but that didn't get translated over to this.
Oh no.
She's like, yay, yay, woohoo! What is she doing in Cloudsdale, by the way? I thought she's back in Ponyville.
Well, she's a Pegasus.
Oh,
what's Bon doing?
This segment, right?
Oh yeah.
We've almost forgotten a really big point, but yeah, how to do a retcon in essence without doing a retcon.
It was a really good retcon.
We named the thing incorrectly. Only realised as such. Sorry, the thing being the Equestrian Bureau of. Did we end up with intelligence or information? I can't remember that. Point is, we had it wrong, and when we were discussing how to fix it, we ended up just going, screw it, let's just make Private Eye look like an idiot. And that entire segment of correcting Private Eye to make sure that the organisation was correct came from that one spur-of-the-moment decision to fix something that was wrong. So, we've tried our best to not retcon stuff in Case 3. However, one or two things like that do end up sneaking through, and we have an in-universe explanation now. Private Eye is silly. A very adorable silly.
He's a little bit of a silly little dude. Funny
also,
little guy.
The tired rig for Philo, beautiful. I'm so glad we got this. Like, yes.
Yeah. A shout out to Caramel. He's the one who did all these animations.
Come again?
No pony.
Nobody said anything.
Philo's so
well, that ends well then.
He's just so good.
I love Tired Philo. I mean, I love Philo in general. He's such a fun character, but gosh, Tired Philo is so good.
He's
I want to give a shout out to all the other writers for writing those parts because I just want to go out here on the limb and say I don't write humor. G knows this. I'm bad at it. So the other writers really came in clutch with making Philo the funniest part of this episode. Looks, crooks, and undercovers and covers. It's so stupid, but it's like, oh, that's so good.
Right, so I'm going to pause here so that we can just quickly get a little bit of the names and all the guys, because there's quite a few hidden away in here. I'm not going to grayscale as well to make it a little easier. Now, does my mouse appear? I think does, maybe?
It's not showing up in the feed.
Okay. Right, well, for those who are watching the stream, you should be able to see my mouse, so that may help. If it isn't, then, we'll just work from left to right. So, far left, is at the top, slightly sliced in half by the edge of the screen, we have, I believe that's Viola Roses.
Yeah, that's Viola's.
Yep, that's Viola.
We have, I believe this is a second version of your OC, correct, Shannon?
No, actually, that's Cadets.
Oh, that's Cadet. Never mind. I thought you had two in here for some reason. I'm so bad at this.
Nope.
Then we have at the top, I'm not sure who that is, actually.
That's mine. Cadet gifted me Hidden Arrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lord.
For the courtroom, specifically, yeah.
Towards the bottom, we have Molly, one of the bailiffs in the fan server. To her top right is the winner of the previous, I think it was the chess tournament that was held several months ago. Avon, their OC, as we promised, would get included. So Avon's OC is there. To his left, above him, we have the glorious one and only Derpy Hooves.
Rainbow Dash. Oh, sorry.
Beneath her, we have Shannon's OC. And then you probably don't need any indication of who that ugly bastard is next to all of them there. I was so chuffed, and I've got to say thank you, Shannon, for throwing me in there, because I did not expect to see a ponified version of myself thrown into the gallery at all, so thank you.
Weren't you in case
adorable.
2?
No, I don't think I was.
Are you sure? I could have sworn.
I think he was on the far end on one side.
Right, so in the cut sections where you don't see anything. Gotcha.
Where you belong.
Well, now I'm front and center, and you can't get rid of this derpy ass face, so congratulations.
God, he's having the time of his life.
Oh, I am. We've also got, it's going on to the right-hand side now, the pink hair? Who's the pink one? The pink-haired one.
Generic pony numbers.
Is this a
all I have for a name is Pink Green Pony.
Pink Green Pony. There we go. Right, people, we have another random background character we have no clue about, so get busy and give us a backstory on this one.
We need backstory. We need a cutie mark. Come on, make it happen.
It's not an alicorn this time. However, beneath said random-ass lime green cotton candy horse, we've got Thespio, the Wilstonator's OC. And what really made me giggle throughout the whole of the premiere was people going, that's Thespio's OC, that's Thespio's OC. And people didn't clock on that he was voicing the judge. And I had to make a comment in the chat of you do realize he's voicing the judge, and 8 people responded were like, wait, he's voicing the judge? So yes, Thespio.
Also, Chad identified the pink green pony. It's Florina Tart, a member of the Apple family.
Ah, well, there we go. Thank you for identifying.
An original character.
No.
But yes, Thespio's OC is there, and as I say, people knew Thespio, didn't hear Thespio, which to me is just just hilarious. I even sent a message to Thespio as such, and he giggled at that. Then we've got, I believe, what's her name? Mint at the top? Minuet, thank you. Then at the bottom, this is Beppy?
Yeah, it's
Saturn's OC. Though someone commented that the scarf was a bacon or something, a bacon horse, which I thought was beautifully hilarious. No, that is I believe that's the lesbian pride flag, if memory serves me correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So not bacon pony, but that did make me chuckle as well. Then above her we have a unicorn.
That's Goddesses.
Yep, that's my OC, gifted to me by the wondrous Cadet. And she so the only thing that I had that I did I could only take credit for was just the cutie mark that she has. And if you see my icon, that's the only thing that I thought of, because I really liked the symbol. And Cadet just did everything else. The problem is I don't have a name for this OC. I really don't.
You can.
We got fans.
Yeah,
drop your ideas for names and name the unicorn.
I had this wonderful OC for a few years now. Shout out to Cadet, because You're awesome. You're awesome. You're awesome. But yet I've never figured out a name. Never figured out a name for her.
Don't worry. The fans will help you with this. They're very good at naming things.
Exactly. So if you've got another pony to name now, everybody. Goddess's OC.
Give my dear OC a name.
The last of the two that we can see. I believe that's Surprise, if my memory serves me correct.
Yeah, Surprise. The Proto Pinkie Pie.
Proto Pinkie Pie. And then finally, above Surprise, we have Envy's OC as well. So quite a lot of cast. And I know that the initial, I remember saying to Shannon when the courtroom was being designed, I was like, I don't think we have enough ponies in the background. We need more. So I tasked her with getting more and more stuff. And I'm very grateful for you listening to my slightly selfish request to have as many ponies as possible in the background.
Well, I threw in a few more in a certain someone who unfortunately is half solid, half in the blur zone. So keep an eye out for that.
Yes, there are certain characters that people want so badly that are actually here. You just got to keep an eye out for them.
Rarity. I want rarity.
We shall...
Please?
Oh, slight gag, or slight...
The victim was poisoned with a substance
Not gag,
known
but guff.
as
You'll notice that in that transition, because the witness testimony was baked in, and I've only found this out myself, the witness testimony graphic was baked into the original file, whereas it's usually added in post. The shading effect on Philo disappears for a second and then reappears. Bit of a little fun blink and you miss it sort of thing, but we only caught that in the final render, and we're like, yeah, bugger it all.
Little gaffes like that are not really worth going through the trouble of re-rendering absolutely everything, because it takes hours to render an episode.
You've got to go into the file as well, which would have caused its own problem. Also, Bricklegrass. It took a while for people to get the reference, but yes, it's from the Lorax. But it took a while. People didn't clock that initially in the first viewing, I don't think. Quite
It would have been nice to know about this.
As most people know the Lorax from the Onceler Tumblr page, obviously.
I thought she was
We don't have to talk about that, though.
We don't talk about Onceler.
We don't talk about the Onceler.
Oh, then.
We've also got a few other characters as well to add on from the previous thing. We obviously got Bon Bon and Final Scratch.
Why would she hide that?
I think in the top right.
Don't know.
Can't remember the rest.
Some flesh-colored mare.
I love his spuggy eyes.
Little stars in his eyes. I love it. I love little details like that.
I just noticed Vinyl was in the background in the other scene. I was like, hey.
Luna doesn't have anyone in her seats.
She initially was. Fun fact, I was going to throw in Soren on that side.
But
Soren? Who's that?
Soren, you a supporter?
No, the background there. None of the defense nor the prosecution of anyone in the behind them. I think that's also just to help with the swiping and the whole design of the courtroom. But
yeah, I imagine it would be difficult to pull that off cleanly if you did
that graphic.
I know.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh.
I'm sure Salman will go into it next DC if he manages to attend, but he actually had to make those from scratch.
He deleted the original, if I remember correctly, by accident.
It's not that he deleted it, he just couldn't find it.
Why are you so confident in this poison specific?
Yeah, he couldn't find the original graphics, so I had to assist him in making new vector graphics for those.
To something the victim ate that day?
Objection!
Well, Salmon's really good at like whenever there's like something that he notices or something, he's really good at getting in there and working with what he's got. It's really cool to have someone who has so much versatility, especially considering how important he is to the coding process and everything.
Yes, the automation team. Certainly, he's definitely led on the enterprise architecture, as I came to learn a fancy word the other day. I've been learning stuff. I'm smart.
You sound very sure.
Yes, I am indeed.
But coding has certainly been one of his biggest contributions alongside the graphic stuff. And he's also contributed stuff in the credit sequence, which I think he's mentioned before as well.
Yeah.
alongside the credit team when that's around.
Yeah.
So much. And all I get to contribute to shitty scene names. So over.
Guess I can't argue that. Right?
Now,
by the way, Trials and Tribulations music. Why not?
There was a... But speaking of timings again, I mentioned that we've been more generic with our timings. Somebody got it slightly incorrect about, like, a week ago. I think, because, interestingly enough, there was a comment that it was, like, started... I think someone read it as a week ago being from the 20th, but it's the 21st today. Just, keep that one in mind. The comment a week ago applies from the day he's saying it.
That clears that up then. Thank you for that information, Detective.
We do love timings, though. Timings are just a nightmare. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Rewriting a fair amount of the background context to this blasted story was in itself the worst thing I've probably done on this entire production. God almighty.
Anyway.
Really?
Oh, yes. And this first indication of Sonata's tactics.
Sonata plays Ace Attorney like a pro.
Yeah, I love that comparison. The Chad Ace Attorney player is Sonata, and the newbie is a Phoenix Wright. Press everything and everybody on everything.
Yeah, there's a comment I think on the YouTube video that said like it was like Luna Gallery everyone, Sonata, what the heck are you doing? And Sonata says playing Ace Attorney. I was like, yeah, how did she know?
Being an easy poison to make is what led you to suspect
Brilliant.
that it was used here?
Objection!
As an aside, though, while this is obviously part of her character, it also helps us pacing-wise. And I think G would agree on this, because we're not pressing on every statement, which we had a very bad issue with back in Case 2, early Case 2. There is this sense of progression. There is an actual sense of we are getting the information we need, but we're not just, we're not playing a game anymore. This is actually, a drama.
Well, we're not playing a game yet. We're not playing it like a game, but
like the game, yeah.
Yeah, I've always tried, and I still stand by this, that for me, Case 2 didn't have enough of an opportunity for people to play along. Whereas, and I know that this is the case, judging by everybody's reactions and comments, like people are actively able to play the mystery a bit more here. And some of the stuff we're seeing is really impressive. Not all right, but there is a lot of really good...
well, it's all right that they're not right, but they're all doing well.
With all these rights, we left the original point of this conversation.
Shut up! No, I hate
My
you.
jokes
I'm leaving.
come back to bite us.
Just like chess. Sometimes I find
I'm
it's
so
better to
haunted.
stop and pay attention.
I try to get one good gag in every episode, and like this episode was on the dark side of the moon.
That's
So
Same applies
I'm
to
just saying,
I'm gonna strangle
we
you.
now know how they'll respond
it's
to their
become my
poison.
But I
good
can't,
job.
because like you also let the other things stay, and I'm like,
Essentially,
fine, you get that one. You get the one because we get the other, and it all works together. But I hate it.
Everybody gets one.
I hate everyone. I hate everything.
But
35 doesn't exist. What are we talking about? Anyway,
No
Case 2.
3-5.
But we're not just gonna let them walk all over us, are we?
These boots were made for walking.
Walking, that's what they're gonna do. And they're gonna walk right all over you.
Right now,
Oh,
though,
man.
Luna seems a bit guarded. She probably won't give us any more information.
If I went
about
back and
it
got
quickly.
and did a bit more polishing of this, I probably
I'm
would
not
have had a
sure
little
we said
bit more
for I
like
prefer.
flashing to Luna,
Before, she
and
might
it's
as well
something I'm
tell
kind of
us
keeping an
herself
eye on for
with how
future
much she was
episodes.
jumping in.
Flashing,
Regardless,
transitioning to different
as she
things,
is now,
talking about
it's
someone,
better to
having it
listen
in frame in
first.
view. You don't
Well
do
learned
that a lot,
false
but it is very
security
complicated doing a lot of
before
the
springing forward.
transitions or doing
Pardon
like
me for
swipes and
interrupting,
everything
but
else.
I did mention I
The
have
poor
a
video
question
editors
today.
have
Can we
a
resume
hell of a
or
job
are you finished
getting this program to work the way it should do. And
good
there's been an
point,
error
Detective.
in the upcoming
Continue your
episode
cross-examination.
where the stand just disappeared for like a whole scene. So yeah, this
Yeah.
program loves to cause
It disappeared in this
problems.
one too for a little bit.
I must admit
It
that
was
God.
very weird.
mine was
Next
the
episode.
Same mistake.
signs of the poison,
Same issue
but
with the
results
program.
came
It's
back
such a good
negative.
program, guys.
We love it, Dopey. All hell of
If
it.
this is the case, why are you
Oh,
insisting
there was also a
that it
comment,
was, in
which
fact,
is a
poison?
fair comment.
If there
fairness.
were no traces
Um,
of poison
fair
found
devotion.
in
But
Streamline's body,
it's
your entire argument about
people
you hear that
only
laughter?
just
the
noticed.
So
victim
good.
doesn't seem to follow.
People only just. I made that joke and I noticed
confirm
that like
the
7
forensics
people left the
was
stream.
performed on the
You're welcome.
Streamline
I
Edtiors boxes.
the the bench doesn't extend all the way to the edge of the camera, and if you think about it from where Phoenix is standing, it's kind of interesting because you see the edge of the bench, but Phoenix should also be at the edge of that bench. This is the case in case 2 as well. There is a reason for that. A is for the swipe, and B, it's also because the initial idea was to try and copy the 3DS versions of the games, which flipped the perspective of the defense and the prosecution, I believe. Which is something that previously we wanted to, well, it was previously suggested and then acted upon to have it that way. However, it does mean that technically, yes, we are unable to see Phoenix where we should probably see Phoenix as co-counsel. It isn't going to be fixed. It isn't something that kind of needs fixing anyway. Just assume he's sitting down whenever he's not, like, there. Just, you know, like a person does.
He's just taking a nap below the bench.
He's just going under the bench and crawling underneath. Sonata, can I come out now? Can I do the lawyering?
Is it safe? Is Luna done scaring me?
That I'm not so sure about. But I don't really have an alternative explanation for why Streamline collapsed.
She collapsed because she's heard our cringe.
She's cringe. There you go. That's why she collapsed.
Better to remain silent and be thoughtful.
She's cringe.
I don't know. Maybe she's also EP. I mean, did you did see those bags under her eyes, right?
She's got a bad case of EP-itis. It's contagious.
Thank you, Rainbow.
Doctor's gonna need to prescribe 20 milligram dosage of.
I know you've got a plan.
I can't say that on stream. Never mind. Brain cut up mouth and said, "No. You've already cursing. We ain't gonna demonetize the stream. It's already demonetized."
Oh, don't worry. The stream's been demonetized since day one.
Rainbow Dash is
it's
top
still
of the
fine.
list. We'll make a move then. Let's see where it gets us.
The another interesting indication again of the two different perspectives literally coming to clash. Phoenix being like, "We're not doing enough." And I was like, "It's fine. We have McDonald's at home."
How often was Rainbow allegedly seen putting her juice boxes in Streamline's locker?
According to the several witness statements we gathered.
Well, there is one thing I am curious about. If all the other Wonderbolts saw Rainbow switching out the juice boxes, wouldn't Streamline have picked up, "Oh hey, this juice box is going to be different"?
So this is an interesting aspect. Now, I think a lot of people forget how close Rainbow's locker is to Streamline's, and like some people probably will, you know, for this particular comment, one can make the assumption that most people saw it but just thought it was her going into her own locker. Because I'll be frank, most lockers, you'll know which one is your locker, but if you went and walked past someone, you wouldn't really, you know, if you see them generally in the area of their locker, it's more than likely they are at their locker. Like, being able to distinguish whose locker is whose specifically is a difficulty. So this is more of one of those I think you would call moments where people remembered something that they saw, rather than something that would be like proactive, well-known knowledge. Like I've had, and this is more of like a dip from when I was doing a bit of training. People would just dick about with your stuff. And, like, you would never know. I remember one time coming back after we finished doing some training, and they'd taken all my kit and, like, turned it into a movie set. And there was just, like, stuff thrown everywhere. It was like a castaway island with, like, my basher and gear just spread everywhere. It took me a good, like, an hour to clean it all back up. But people just do stuff, especially in the army. You know, your stuff will sometimes, not always, sometimes go missing because someone decided it would be a funny idea to hide it somewhere. Or they, you know, mess around with your stuff and it wouldn't be seen as abnormal fully.
Even so,
but that's not the only point you fail to account for.
Yeah, the way I saw it was that maybe other Wonderbolts saw Rainbow messing about with the locker, but didn't think much of it until it just so happened that Streamline collapsed, and then they realized, wait, Rainbow was messing about. Did she do this?
It's a fact that it's something you don't think about until it becomes a matter of importance. Like, oh yeah, I saw this person walking down the street the other day, going towards this door. But in the moment, you're like, oh, they're just doing that action. But it is interesting. Also, you could just take it as an indication that something's a bit off. You know, sometimes I may have just given an explanation that gives reasonable rationality, but maybe I'm misleading you as well. Who knows?
What? That definitely means.
But recall what the detective has said. Not just repeated doses, but small repeated doses. It is possible that the amount slipped into any individual juice box is too small to detect.
Poisoning
Only
without
when
the
catalyzes can its
without the
effect be
poisoning
observed.
is
there is a point that I brought up with Salman, but I'm gonna save it for a later DC about this poisoning, but it's definitely an interesting angle to go for in regards to this.
I think the problem is, and I want to speak more about it, but we can't because of where we are at in terms of time, ironically enough. But yeah, it is a conversation that it's good to see people coming to these points. I've said it elsewhere. Like, if you think this is weird, good. I'm not upset about that. I'm happy people are noticing that. But there is methods behind madness. Or if there isn't, I will fire Jarvy. So don't worry, everybody. Consequences will happen.
I just stepped away from. Why are we blaming me now? I didn't do anything yet.
Don't worry.
You're a Kieran.
This
is blame you.
This last part is interesting in that since Sonata acted more passive, as to put it in one way, she and Phoenix didn't have an argument to keep Philo on the stand.
Yes, that's a very good point. Again, another indication of like the different style. You know, it's got its pros and its benefits. Pros and cons, sorry.
Whether we like it or not.
So we're not playing Sonata as like as a genius per se. Her route will have consequences.
Although,
just like any type of
Sonata.
Yes.
And I wonder.
Your approach to
Wonder what Philo means by this.
Unique.
Probably nothing.
Indeed, and I can already sense a certain someone is shaking in their seat because they really want to talk about this.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's nobody in my seat.
There's nobody in your seat.
Again, another ramble from Jarvy.
No, what are you talking about?
There isn't actually a pause moment on the thing here, so there won't be.
It's not his mind or something, guys. That's so Philo's kind of so sick he can read minds like that. That's freaky.
I'm glad you are still listening.
I'm glad you're so wholesome.
That's so nice. It's like, okay.
Your Honor.
I love Philo.
I also love
awesome.
Philo's so fun.
Oh,
and now we have
Spitfire!
It's lightning dust.
Now this moment is one of those moments I mentioned before about like characters, about music being added, even though it wasn't in the thing. For some reason, we hadn't had Spitfire's theme set up to play during this particular moment, even though she's just started
I thought it would be too short.
Wow.
But I like how it was added, so I was like, that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting things. Again, like you don't think about. Like from a timing perspective, it looked too small. But for this, I think it just added just the right amount of music necessary to get people engaged. Also,
because that's usually just 30 seconds.
Oh god.
This bitch.
Look, she's big.
No one caught it, and I was really disappointed because I would have thought there would have been jokes about like Big Spitfire, but yes, we accidentally didn't quite set up this particular testimony correctly.
It was kind of in Polish, this was perfectly in place, but it turned out that the editor accidentally activated an option that makes things super slow for our new editing process, something called layer parenting. So in the process of removing layer parenting so the render could go properly, that sequence was not adjusted, and we have Big Spitfire.
We have wide Spitfire. And again, I'm glad that it kind of somehow managed to like sneak its way through the whole episode and it wasn't commented on. But now whenever you go back, you can enjoy Big Spitfire. And I believe Goddess has been sent to the moon once again.
My headcanon for why this works in universe is that the judge can't see Spitfire, so he has to like lean really close. And that's also why he asks later on, like, you have to repeat yourself. And that's totally the legitimate reason in universe for that little bit of a lean in. The judge can't see, he's old, he can't hear, he's old.
Oh wait, no, you know what it is? You want to know what it is?
What is it?
Spitfire's a small pony.
That's true, she's smart. She's short.
She's smart.
She's small.
Yes, ma'am.
She fun sized.
Thank you for letting me speak.
No doubt about it.
So I really love that Spitfire. Like up until this point, she's been doing a lot of PR speak. Like, oh, I can't speak about this. I can't speak about that. But gosh, there's just so much pride she has for Rainbow. And it's nice that she's had an opportunity to speak her mind and make clear that she is 100% behind Rainbow and all this. She believes she's innocent. And she wanted Rainbow to know it in a probably one of her more anxiety moments because she's standing on that stand, hearing her name be slandered, and it's got to be hard. It's got to be rough. Second time through, it doesn't get any easier.
Almost just as good too.
No.
The two of them share a dorm space, and their lockers.
Yeah,
are
especially with all the things she witnessed.
Detective said. Several ponies saw Rainbow swap a juice box with one in Streamline's
It's like
locker.
it's such a bad set of circumstances that came together into this moment of Rainbow's name being tarnished.
Objection! Defense, I begin to
I mean, really, hasn't Rainbow been through enough? She's already dealt with this once. She's dealt with the whole situation, all these situations in the Wonderbolt, and now she's dealing with this. It's got to be rough.
And this was before Rarity's investigations, I think.
Yeah. Rainbow Dash just keeps getting accused for crimes willy-nilly. Yeah, what have people got against Rainbow Dash?
I think she's just bad. She's a bad pony. She should go to jail.
No, she's hot-headed, and when people see hot-headed ponies, they think, yes, the perfect scapegoat, because they're always going to lash out.
She's a criminal. She's a right. G, you agree? You hate Rainbow Dash.
Yeah, Rainbow's like the ultimate worst character in the whole show. We should never have allowed her into this EOK thing. Also, I love the animation.
Love you, Muse. We love you, Rainbow Dash. Please don't hate us.
Ooh, I love the offset on the different floating paper.
Yeah, that's such a cool animation.
Once again, I gotta point out the animation because someone's gotta talk about it.
We gotta talk about animation. We'll never stop talking about animation.
We gotta appreciate the animators. They do such a great job.
Yeah, I tortured them.
You don't know? Then what about this?
I say I.
I.
It's a team effort.
We? You speaking French?
We know I'm speaking Nintendo.
It's our torture, Jarvy.
But I get the feeling that's not what you mean.
We really are in Soviet Russia.
Not that I contribute to it. If anything, I'm the one getting the torture when I'm brought in to do animation.
So Pretty, we need a couple new animations for Princess Luna. You're gonna work with this broken rig. It has not been.
Knows where the boxes went.
We cheat.
I know you just learned animate, Pretty, but we gotta get this done in 3 days.
I had one crash course, and I was like, I understand maybe 2%
You may continue
of
your
the
testimony.
theology behind anime. Let's be honest. Using animate is basically just theology.
Sonata?
You pray half the time. And then you confess your sins the other half of the time in the hope that it repents. But it doesn't.
As my stepdad always used to say, there was an insomniac, agnostic, oh shit, how does the rest of it? It's like, I fucked it already. Basically, staying up all night wondering if there really was something like a dog.
Dyslexic, agnostic, insomniac?
Yeah, there we go.
I know
Dyslexia. Staying up all night wondering whether there's a dog. It's animators staying up all night wondering if their rig is actually going to be there in the morning and hasn't exploded into a cacophony of library backgrounds. Also, Luna's reaction. You have a reference. Another
it's
reference.
A Hamlet reference. Slips right under the radar.
Not Baconlet. Not Bacon Sale. Get it?
Shut up. You got your rights and lefts. You can't do that with Hamlet. It doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Hamlet is.
There is actually a production of Hamlet that it is just animals, though. So it's.
I mean,
I'll give you that. It's not Lion King. Literally, Hamlet, pig. There is a production of that.
know that she cannot.
And I'll say, like, Luna literally using Rainbow Dash's disposition against her. Like, oh, look, she's so angry. Would an instant pony be angry? Well, here's the thing. A lot of people like to talk about the perfect victim. There's so many people who are actually victims who don't get believed for being victims because they don't represent what is known as the perfect victim. Otherwise known as the person who could not speak up, who is so weak and helpless. But if you do anything else, if you act angry, if you try to stand up for yourself, if you in any way act outside of the ideals of the perfect victim, then you are in a way not innocent. You are the guilty party. You are the lion. Because of people's perceptions of what a victim should be, which leads to a lot of people being wrongfully,
So far, aside from the swapping,
I 100% agree, but Luna's argument relies on a valid, if questionable, legal technique of appealing to emotion.
Oh yeah, I know what she's doing.
She is doing this on purpose, and
I know she is. She's doing it to get under her skin.
Yeah, but the issue is Rainbow isn't helping matters either. I mean, from the very beginning, we've established that Rainbow. She's not a victim, but then also a perpetrator of her own situation. She's not helping anybody.
Oh, no, she isn't, yeah. But I am saying, speaking to the idea that is seldom talked about in a courtroom, which is the perfect victim and what people want out of the people. Like, when people, like, true crime especially, when people are, like, watching stuff and they're, like, trying to puzzle together who's actually guilty, unfortunately leads to a lot of things getting lost in the wake, and that's exactly what Luna's trying to do. She's trying to manipulate public opinion, and in a way the court's opinion, by presenting Rainbow in a certain light, which, because she's hot-headed, ends up leading to Rainbow to, not make things easier on herself. She's already not making things easy on herself by being so against Sonata. She's essentially in part, a perpetrator of her own destruction. But in the end of the day, it's still true, the idea of how the court and how public can make someone who's actually innocent into the perpetrator without even realizing what they're doing. It's very easy to do that, and people don't really think about it that often, unfortunately.
We have a lot... I love this deepness, but I do think that we have slightly strayed off from the episode itself, going into this wonderful philosophical aspect about presentation of one's skill or how one should look. But that was the end of the scene 4, and I forgot to take a second to pause after scene 3, so apologies if you had a question for scene 3, do fire up now. But wow, blimey, lots of really good stuff coming from both of you two there. Questions from the chat, if any, and also once again my stupidity comes into play with a wonderful crummy scene name, Commander on Stand. Yes, I literally just tried to force Commander on Deck as a scene name to no avail. I'm terribly sorry, everyone. I get worse from here, I promise. Questions though? I'm not seeing any chat, so.
Not at the moment.
Questions going once. Going twice.
I will instead take this as an opportunity then to quickly highlight something kind of hilarious that was occurring whilst the rendering was happening. So we've changed up the process. I mentioned it a bit before. I'm now doing all the splicing alongside Joel and King Xanadu, who is one of the new VAs for a character I can't say yet. But the way in which we do that line splicing, choosing which takes that end up in the final episode, was very complicated and required a lot of new automation, which I think I mentioned briefly in the free DC. But what we use predominantly to choose the takes is Audacity's free, it's open source software, so it's nice and easy to kind of just, throw stuff in and label your takes and get everything out, yada yada yada. But to store all that data, to store all of the auto-generated splicing tools that we have, I had to kind of find a place to throw it into. And accidentally, in the process of trying to store it so that the other members of my splicing team could get access to their equipment or to their stuff, I got a message from Salman a couple of weeks ago, basically along the lines of, please can you get your AUPs out of my Mega? because I was ruining the poor bastard's like ability to actually do anything on his computer. I was just taking up his disk because he's automatically connected to our Mega, which is what we use to sort of share files with each other. So as I say, a lesson has been learned in that if you ever have a production team, make sure you communicate with your heads what is going to end up on their computer so that you don't accidentally brick the person who's rendering your episodes for you. Salman is very to the point, as you can see right now, and I love him for it. Okay, that's a bit of a funny thing, though. Just a little bit of a light-hearted, humorous moment that occurred during the rendering of this poor episode. If no one has any questions, then we shall move on to the next part. We are in the final scene now as well, so we're almost there. I think.
Almost there.
The case against
and the name of this one is a motivating factor. I need to get
all things considered. Witnesses, several of them, testify as to her actions and behavior.
There we go. Now we're in the present.
Yay.
And we at least have an idea of what actions were taken. That of poisoning. Unless I'm missing something, everything has been established.
Everything except one thing, Your Honor.
And this is quite a clever point.
A possible motive. Neither Detective Reed nor Captain Spitfire provided us an idea of one after all.
The testimonies themselves were just basically useless. Well, not useless, but like, you know, the opening monologue, which totally doesn't have any thematic intent behind it, did say there are some things that defense attorney has to look for, and
did say that you should not provide your
Sonata's pointing out that
consider this
something's missing.
And while you're at it, you should consider something
I think it was
else.
quite interesting because a lot of people's initial reactions to this argument or to the case at hand was quite justified. Again, I encourage people to, take a step back and wonder why they are feeling that way or what that feeling means. Because, this is a very interesting case. It's a very abnormal case, especially because by most accounts, we don't get many instances in the Ace Attorney universe where the victim is
Isn't it obvious?
dead.
Yeah, it's only 3, I think, that James spoke of, that I know of anyway. So
it's a good. Again, I'd encourage people to review what's being said because some of Luna's presentation is interesting, and you consider that fact that we all are aware of. A little few hints and teasers and pointers, maybe to re-guide some people. But the reactions, again, even if people are confused or uncertain, they are what I'm not concerned, shall I say. If you're confused, good. Just use that confusion in a way that may help you to the truth.
Fuel it. Fuel it towards your curiosity and understanding.
As another point, a lot of people have pointed out that a lot of the argument the prosecution is arguing, that's a repetitive sentence, sorry, is circumstantial. The funny thing is, circumstantial evidence is actually as valid, if not sometimes relied on more often, if not more strongly, than direct evidence. And a lot of what we are hearing in this particular section is word for word defined as circumstantial, even if it doesn't seem like it. Witness testimony, blood prints, hand fingerprints, DNA evidence and collection, and things like that we see in like CSI and stuff like that are not considered definitive direct evidence. They are in fact indirect circumstantial evidence. So arguing things that rely on making an inference from reasoning, which is what fundamentally Luna is doing here, is a valid, courtroom technique.
Oh yeah. And even then, that evidence can be infallible. For example, DNA tests like, say, cotton swabs can actually lead to false positives. Yeah, because when people are working in factories, sometimes their DNA can get on the cotton swab.
Exactly.
Hold on a moment. Think this through.
So when people were saying, like, in the comments that this circumstantial stuff should mean that the trial gets thrown out, the problem is circumstantial trumps 0.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't have anything, circumstantial beats it by default. It's like rock, paper, scissors.
And when you think about it, if brickled grass is so difficult to conceal as a poison, like it's difficult to detect it, especially if it's used correctly, then that's kind of all you have to work off if you have nothing else. no one knows what else it could have been because there's no currently, as far as everyone can tell, there's no other evidence to go off of other than what right now is the most feasible idea. We can tell that Rainbow has a motive, as it's going to be revealed soon enough. We have something that explains all the symptoms, and we have something, that thing that can explain all the symptoms is difficult to detect. So it's an easy, accessible poison that is easy to have. It's very plausible. Isn't that what the point of the court is? To prove all this evidence goes in the direction of the story you say it is? Isn't that the point of having this battle to begin with, of wits and information?
And this is, again, another awesome moment towards that battle of information where we get to see logic chess in action. Well, not logic. Yeah, no, sorry. Logic.
Logic, yeah, it's just called logic.
It's logic. It's
not logic chess. But you're bang on there. It's like right now, even Sonata has to play that game of inference gathering. And in a way that is detrimental to her because she's having to figure out what her own blasted client is up to without being told by said client. But also, for people who are very confused, well, maybe not confused, but like it didn't see
Concerned.
this concern. Well, no, because it's more about the fact that some people didn't. This idea that Rainbow was upset has been telegraphed a lot longer than people probably remember. And I, again, encourage people to go back to case 2. And you may notice something that you will only be able to appreciate now by doing so. Which, again, highlights that we have tried to keep a little bit of consistency, I swear. I promise. I spent ages on that.
That's quite the reach, Prosecutor Luna.
But even if Luna is even if Luna is reaching, as Phoenix says, it isn't just something that Luna has been able to get away with in many instances. So if people again are concerned or confused about how Luna is able to kind of operate with a lot of stuff, there is pushback. But she is, well, as this scene and this really awesome performance here demonstrates, like, she's not going to give up without a fight. And if you want to have more context as well, remember BOJ21 exists for a good reason. Which I'm very glad that we got that done.
I guess you could say her softness in the earlier case, in case 2, led to the truth in a way being occluded. Because in the end of the day, it was true. Turning did kill his father, and she let that go without in a way, in your mind, you could say she let it go without a second thought and made a fool of herself, as they did this whole runabout with a clone theory that was not real.
Sorry, I heard the need to pause, so we shall get into a pause.
Let's go, another pause.
Yeah, it's just me. You could back up if you want to get to the specific line, but we could just blow through it anyway. It's just me talking about the augurs line. A little bit. Yeah, right there. So, this is I'm gonna try and make this short because it's a bit of it's just me explaining some wordplay that happened. The funny thing is, this is technically an incorrect wordplay that worked out anyway. AUGER, augur, and AUGUR, augur, are pronounced the exact same, but they're technically two different things. An auger with an E is a type of device used in construction to bore holes. But the pun that was intended is an auger with a U. Augur meaning augury, a method of predicting the future usually by observing certain things in nature. One of the most common things back in Roman times was watching the movement of birds, such as crows. So here the pun was, Luna is implicitly calling Rainbow a crow, which is fitting because a group of crows is a murder. However, augur with an E doesn't really work with that definition, but augur with an E also works with this pun because she's kind of boring a hole in Rainbow's character, just as I use an auger to bore a hole into something. So this should never happen again, but it's really funny that with the stroke of luck, the pun works. But we're never doing that again. We're never using $2 words, right, G?
I mean, I'm quite happy if everything is so basic that I can understand. That would be appreciated. But that's a fun fact that I was not aware of.
It slipped through, and I realized when I was watching the episode, I was like, oh shit, I used the wrong word. Because again,
that's the wrong augurs.
But it worked, and I was like, I'm never going to get away with that again, but thank God it worked. But,
I had a 50-50 shot. getting it right, and I still got it wrong, but I still got it right.
Yeah. Just like Luna, I think.
Like Luna. Oh, Luna. Oh, poor. Is that
also,
what
this
you want
is a fun line to hear Goddess do. It was cute.
Well, yes, and it's great to say again that thanks, and unfortunately Goddess had to depart, so we can't get her take on it. But the change between case 2 and case 3, and the ability to have gifted her some necessary equipment to get the most out of her is another wonderful, as I say, it's one of those highlights for me of the whole of this team's production as a life cycle. The amount that we're able to give back to people within the team, get them stuff that would never otherwise be possible, and we get awesome performances as a result. I'm very glad to see a lot of people really enjoyed Goddess's performance as Luna in this episode, and I'd like to say it gets even stronger. And also with the change in how we've done production, I think next episode, well, I'm going to say this because I'm the one who spent a lot of bloody time doing the splicing for that one. I think you'll appreciate everybody's performances a lot more from next episode onwards, because I've been able to take more time to take more consideration. But this is the last episode technically before that that change came into being. So it'll be interesting to have a before and after, see if there's been a bit of an uptick. Any other comments from anyone else?
I have something, but not about the line. But so I guess you can press play if you want. Okay. I know it's something in the chat here, and I think it's an interesting point of discussion.
I will.
But yeah, I'll let you press play first. So the person brought up, if there's another easy explanation. It's equally valid to accuse the supposed victim taking drugs. Now here's the thing about this. Who wants to be the one to accuse the Wonderbolts for letting in a druggie who cheated the system? Imagine what that would do to their reputation. When there's a much easier explanation to pin it on. Grickograss.
My client's
That's a fair point.
After all, it's a serious accusation to say that someone was taking performance-enhancing drugs, and it could ruin her entire career if that was, unless you can actually prove it. Making such a claim could be dangerous. If you can't back it up, it is a possibility, but isn't it also possible she was poisoned? Because why would someone cheat their way to the Wonderbolts? Why wouldn't they notice? It would call into question the entire system of the Wonderbolts.
The interesting aspect as well to add on to that thing is, in most militaries, any form of substance abuse is severely, punished with. Over here in the UK, it is, immediately dismissible. There is no recourse. If it's found positive, you're gone. You cannot fight it. Well, there are ways to somewhat fight it, but the charge is incredibly serious due to the consequences of taking stuff and funding organizations that would benefit from that. So it's a good point.
I can imagine that just to instill trust in the populace again, they would have to cancel every event that the Wonderbolts are attending just so that they could do appropriate talk screenings, as well as just pretty much going investigator style on everyone's stashes just to make sure that they aren't actually on anything.
So if you don't have legitimate proof, any proof at all, that this person was taking performance-enhancing drugs, why would you take the risk of making that accusation? Especially when there's so much stuff that already points to Rainbow being guilty. I mean, she was caught swapping juice boxes.
It doesn't even necessarily get Rainbow off of the thing anyway, because then an argument could be made in that situation. He was, the person bringing it into the team.
Drugging her.
In a way, you can even make the argument that she endangered Streamline's life by recklessly pulling her off those performance-enhancing drugs, which in turn still makes her in a way responsible.
It's a big risk, and ultimately
that's only if it's true.
Only if it's true.
Only if it's true. We don't know that. Obviously, the characters don't know that. Unless Rainbow Dash would like to speak up and, say something to Sonata. That's up to her. If she knows something, she better say it.
All logic in the world cannot beat a stubborn horse.
It cannot beat the rainbow dish.
You're not going to be able to reason with her to open up. And remember, she has reason to not want Sonata's help. Yes, it's dumb, but it is reasonable.
And this admittance, I love Smug Luna. Boy, do I love Smug Luna. It is a guilty fucking pleasure.
Noted, Prosecutor Luna.
He's cute.
Unfortunately,
fun fact: that pose actually is all the way back in case 2. It just was never used.
You say that no pony knows how your client.
Yeah, I enjoy Luna taunting Sonata about her lack of action.
It's fun because we do have this interesting parallel, like in the first episode of Sonata just being too keen. Now she's a little bit maybe too passive. Interesting, character development and all that.
The prosecution humbly
characters have to be allowed to make mistakes.
That she may return to
No, I want my Mary Sues and Gary Stews. I want all of them.
Probably got a bunch of paperwork lording over my head right about now.
I'm surprised no one actually gave the name Mary Stew to the background halicorn now that I think about it.
Gosh, that would have been a fun idea for a story and just play up under that idea. Even though I think we collectively as a population have started to pull away from the notion of Mary Sues and Stews. Just
no Sues.
let people make alicorns and have fun.
Yes. Except Julius. Bad Julius. Call him out publicly. You're alicorn shit and so are you. I'm joking. I love you, Julius.
We love you, Julius.
For money, he will do anything.
Don't you dare. I'll turn your Kieran into a goddamn Kieran stew if you're not careful.
He will do anything for money.
Boo.
Boo. Boo. Give it up already.
Give it up already.
No objections. I have a feeling that even if I had any, she'd swat them
Yes.
down.
And also because this episode is over an hour, Sonata, so therefore we do need to actually end it now.
Yes, indeed. People need a rest.
This isn't your average case 2 anymore. We actually have
dealing with the
time management.
Warrior.
I'd better make the most of that.
It has become a super case.
Something tells me I'm going
that hurt.
Just 1 hour long, but still we did 3 times what we did in the 2.5 hours of 2-3.
Pretty much.
The funny thing about that is 2-3 was also one private eye.
Is that surprise? From G1 to My Little Pony?
Dude,
oh my gosh!
It is a true surprise. But
Trucy?
yeah. Oh no, not Trucy. Not that character, whoever she is. Okay. There we go. So, I would normally... We'll pause there to take any questions regarding the scene and also to have this to be continued on because I feel like it's a good idea to have the to be continued on or to be continued. But yeah, there we go. That was the episode pretty much. The only thing left would be the credits, which I think we've done to death quite a lot now.
I do see a question.
So these credits do have something subtle about them.
Yes, they do. This is true. And I'd encourage people to go back and have a little review, but I'm not going to give people the answers there. We will not show it today.
Answers. There are no answers.
There was a question you say though, Jarvy?
I fucking lost it, damn it. I went in full screen with my feed.
No, we got it right here. You got it, Shannon, you want me to read it?
You do it because I can't see it anymore.
Go ahead.
Alright. I've seen some of the viewer feedback. How did the team feel about Luna, Sonata, Phoenix dynamic in this episode? The interaction was definitely made very intense. And yeah, it really was.
I can't say anything because I'm biased.
I was going to say, yeah.
You are a writer, Jarvy.
Yeah, can't say anything. Zip.
I mean...
Well, personally, I think it's really interesting. It's kind of fun to see all the different approaches and dynamics in the courtroom because we don't know how Phoenix would handle this, but we've yet to see Sonata in action in that she's refined her craft, and we haven't seen a more aggressive Luna yet, so all around it's just very interesting to see these dynamics be fleshed out on screen.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, a lot of fan reactions like, wow, Luna's so aggressive. But to me, prosecutors and the Ace Attorney have always been aggressive. I like that we get this other side of Luna. We're seeing a progression of her character. Like other prosecutors, she's not the same prosecutor she was from the first case. She's taking the defeat and trying to better herself from it. She's trying to learn. She's trying to do her job and do it well. And then you got characters like Phoenix, who, you know, the wise one, who has been through a lot, who has seen many prosecutors, fought many battles. You can tell that even from the outside that, you know, he has a very, I guess you could say, wise perspective. But he wants to stay quiet and allow Sonata the space to, you know, show what she's got. And then you got Sonata, who's so assured in her approach that I feel like it's setting up for something a bit larger to come. Not quite sure where yet, but you can just get... Yeah, I'm getting the vibes that they're selling to this approach, and there's more to come with what this approach is, what it's doing, and how it's going to affect the case. Maybe even Sonata herself. I really love there's a lot of setup for that. There's a lot of setup for the way Luna's arc is going. There's a lot of way that Sonata's setting herself up in her arc, in her journey as a defense attorney. And then, of course, we have Phoenix here, the support character who's acting as support. And we see him as a helpless observer watching this all unfold. Very interesting stuff.
Any other comments from anyone about it? Bruno, any feelings on the dynamic?
Well, I think you guys have already covered a lot of what I think about it. Indeed, it's quite the intense dynamic we have going on here, and it's interesting. And I don't recall if we mentioned this before. No, I don't think so. But I really like that we explored Co-Counsel Phoenix. Since canonically he's yet to be a co-counsel, we will only see him in that spot in the final case of Spirit of Justice.
Right. Well, and then, as I say, I was going to add that when the idea was proposed, because I think this dynamic was, at least the Sonata Phoenix dynamic, was a hard-baked idea, well established in preparation and before Case 2 ended. The full depth of the dynamic is fun, and where we're going to take it, as already been hinted, is probably going to be one of the most interesting things I look forward to seeing to come to fruition. But for Luna, I think for me it felt most interesting, or most real, or most impactful after BOJ21 got its opportunity to exist. Because one of the biggest drawbacks of the first season of BOJ was that we didn't have enough opportunity to plan. We didn't have enough time to give information, or we didn't have much of a roadmap to work from on what to make those episodes about. But now that everything is very synergized, stuff like BOJ21 helps to add weight to this, and then other BOJs are going to add weight as well to other aspects of this case. So seeing it in action in 2.4, I think, is more of a realization. It's a benefits realization to draw from my professional day-to-day work of stuff that we have put time and energy into elsewhere. And I'm very happy. And I cannot wait to see it, as I say, bloom into its full, final form. Like some, I don't know. Yeah.
Sure. Just take the analogy.
I'm taking it. It's taken it. It's mine. I own it. Mine now. Uh-huh. Any other questions from the chat?
Will this be the final episode where you guys tinker with the credit scene? We have a credit scene?
Maybe. No, not be the final one. But I'm not going to tell you when.
Tinker.
I think it'll be obvious, though. I think it will be obvious when it finally happens. So enjoy that. You should.
It's just a PowerPoint presentation.
No, that comes in Case 4. I love my Google Slides. Okay. If you've been to the conventions, you know I love my Google Slides. They hate me, but I love them.
Google Slides just hates everyone, but that's okay.
That's okay. I can fix it.
Google hates us.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
That looks like that's it.
Right. Well, if that is it, then what we're going to do, I suppose, is start preparing to wind down. So, let's just get ourselves set up into this position. 1 second, I didn't do that correctly. Oopsie daisy. I'm so good at this whole streaming thing. Right. Well, that's the end of episode 4 of Case 3. The members on the channel and on Patreon have been given teasers as to what's coming next month, but we will be back next month with another piece of content. I'd like to say a massive thank you to everyone who's watched the whole thing. We've been going for a good 2.5 hours, so we definitely need to wrap up here. But thank you to my guests, Shannon, PPW, Jarvy, Bruno, and Goddess for attending. Thank you all. It's always great to have you on, to chat with you all. And we now transition into that final part of this every live stream that we do. So, team, are you ready for the send-off? Are you all ready?
Yes.
I can't scream right now.
You can say the word. You can still say the word. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Look forward to seeing you all again in the future. Team, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Objection!
Objection!